December days grow dramatically short, people across cultures and across time prepare to celebrate the power of light. While we are grateful for the return of the light of the sun, we are even more grateful for those spiritual lights that you ever bestow on those who seek them, the light of wisdom, the light of peace, the light of unity. Just as the sun will soon give warmth to the frozen earth, we ask that your light would warm our hearts, especially in this season when we see so many in need. Grant your wisdom and unity to all those here present this evening for the good of all who dwell in this city. May we all be sources of light, especially to those who feel that all they see is darkness. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again, Father Buffenbarger, for being here with us this evening. We have a couple of things to take care of here before we actually get working on the business of the evening, and one of them is a little turnabout for us. I was checking with our clerk as I was preparing for the meeting and said, where is the proclamation that we are to provide? And it turns out that is not what's happening here exactly. So we evidently are going to be awarded a Civic Leadership Award, and this is from Bike Friendly Kalamazoo. So please come forward.
So good evening.
Make sure to speak right into the microphone too. Everyone at home can hear you.
Sounds good. So good evening, Mayor Anderson and the City Commission, Kalamazoo. Thank you for having us this evening. I'm here with Paul Selden and Terry Anderson, and we have an award for your staff. Here it is. This is a Civic Leadership Award, and it's for the city's Community Planning and Economic Development Department. So we appreciate the many opportunities to provide input into the planning process. BFK board members have participated in meetings and some of the many planning sessions. So BFK commented on planning efforts that may accommodate bike and pedestrian users. And so for that, we're saying thank you. And I don't know if Paul or Terry wants to. Go ahead. Oh, you go ahead.
Mike Smith.
So with that.
Well, I've been asked to comment, so I'll just briefly comment. This award is something we gather input from the community over the year. And we, as a board, have received more than 5 or 6, more than half a dozen nominees this year. So it was really with great pleasure that our board took a look at what the city, specifically the department, and largely due to Christine's efforts to reach out to the community to get their input. This is the main thing we felt about this award. The city has taken great pains to reach out to the community in many surveys to look at ways to improve the infrastructure, to improve public safety, and that benefits everyone. So for that, we want to present this award tonight.
Thank you so very much. Mike, would you be so kind as to come forward? Are you here? Mike Smith, I thought I saw you come in. So we can get a photograph of this event. Thanks again. Appreciate it. And now we have the honor to participate in a special tribute to a dear friend and now former commissioner, tribute to Qianna Decker, and this is being presented by our state representative, Julie Rogers. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It is my honor and privilege. Again, I'm State Representative Julie Rogers, House District 41, City of Kalamazoo, Kalamazoo Township, a little bit of Comstock and Portage, and I have had the privilege of working alongside former City Commissioner Qianna Decker for the last 4 years, and her service is bar none. She demonstrates, she does not just talk about these things, but we literally walked side by side, whether it be talking to residents about lead and your incredible program with lead line replacement and getting the word out. She has a passion and a heart for small businesses in this area, and I could go on and on. But while I'm thrilled that there are some new faces on the City Commission, she will be deeply missed by many of us, me included. This is not very long, so I am going to quickly read the special tribute recognition. Let it be known that it is with deep appreciation for the hard work, dedication, and professionalism that Kalamazoo City Commissioner Qianna Decker has put forth on behalf of the people of Kalamazoo that we offer the expression of our thanks and best wishes in her next endeavors. As the people of Kalamazoo recognize the loyalty and devotion to public service of this individual, we add our sentiments of gratitude for a job well done. In her 4 years of service to the people of Kalamazoo, Qianna Decker has been working in the public arena during an area of great change. Qianna's work with local businesses and the community to increase education, address disparities in home ownership for people of color and low-income residents, and creating opportunities for residents to get involved has greatly impacted Kalamazoo for the better. This has been deeply appreciated both by citizens and organizations in Kalamazoo that have benefited directly from Qianna Decker's work, as well as other public servants who have witnessed this fine example. She has also been a champion, as I said earlier, for lead abatement and the replacement of lead pipes, going door to door to communicate with residents about the city's work to replace lead lines and prevent further exposure. There can be little doubt that the record of Qianna Decker and her responsibilities as City Commissioner over the past 4 years will continue to reap rewards for the people of Kalamazoo. We offer our thanks on this personal milestone and appreciate the contribution of a lifelong Kalamazoo resident who is dedicated to serving her local community and supporting its ongoing development. In special tribute, therefore, this document is signed and dedicated to join with the citizens of Kalamazoo in saluting Qianna Decker in acknowledgement of her 4 years of outstanding public service. And this is signed by Senator McCann, myself, Rep. Long John, Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, and our esteemed Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Congratulations.
Well, hello there. Thank you, Representative Rogers. Appreciate that very, very much. Hello, commissioners, Vice Mayor Duncan, Mayor Anderson, Interim City Manager, Ms. Moore, and Attorney Liao. I'll keep this short because I did see the agenda. What I would like to say is I have a quote here, and I'd always look at this quote when I thought about what I was doing for the community and for economic development, and just the prosperity and the forward moving of our city. This is a quote by Labor Secretary Reich. "We honor family values every time we create a job. We honor family values every time children have a safe place to go when their parents are at work. We honor family values every time we secure a working person's pension. We honor family values every time we teach a child to learn. We honor family values every time we move a young mother from welfare to work, or help a worker get better skills, or help someone who has lost a job to find a new one," unquote. Here in Kalamazoo, we can create a community where people are thriving from the day they are born. Let's continue the positive change in Kalamazoo. One houseless individual, one child, and one family at a time. Let's continue to prove with intention and continue to build our community with lifelong skills, successful existence together in a society characterized by diversity. Thank you.
Thank you. So good to see you again, Commissioner Decker, and as you are well aware, unlike previous evenings when you've been here, you don't have to stay to the end if you don't want to. So we are now down to adoption of the formal agenda, and I know City Manager Moore, you have a couple changes that you would like to make.
Yes, Mayor. I would like to remove item G9 from the consent agenda. I would also request that item K1 be removed and brought back at a later date to allow staff time to respond to questions that arose this afternoon.
All right, thank you so much. So that means that under the G, the consent agenda, we're removing G9. Just
Correct.
removing it, not moving it.
That's
And the same thing was the only item under policy items, K1, that is being removed as well. Commissioners, are there any items on the consent agenda that you would like to have moved to the regular agenda? All right, seeing none, the agenda stands as it is. Communications, Manager Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to call Chief Boyson up as he responds to activities around the cold weather. Oh, public comment.
Sorry, Mayor, there was an addition to the new business section that I wanted to make to the agenda.
Okay.
I wanted to add, under new business, a discussion of homelessness response coordination, including the establishment of a committee to review and propose policy recommendations. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that. Thank you, Commissioner Slavy. Welcome, Chief and Officer Miller. Appreciate having you here.
And city leadership, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. We want to talk about our community service team and in particular our response to our crisis when it comes to dealing with the unhoused and homeless. I know that issue is brought up many times in these chambers, and there's rightfully so a lot of questions about what the city is doing to address this issue. And there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes at public safety, and I want to share that kind of for the public to know some of the things we're doing, especially right now. It's very important with this extreme cold weather that we've been having to make sure that our unhoused community is safe during this time. So we recognize this as a growing challenge, not just in the city of Kalamazoo, but really in the country. And in 2023, so 2 years ago, we started a community service team that started with Sergeant Elwan and grew to the addition of Officer Mary Miller, who I'm going to have speaking shortly because she's going to talk really about, I'm giving a high level, but she's going to talk about really the day-to-day stuff that this team does and how important this work is. But it grew now to a sergeant and 3 full-time officers that work with our homeless population. And Sergeant Elwan just retired, so he's been replaced by Sergeant Morales, but we haven't updated the picture yet. But it's one last shout out to Sergeant Elwan, who really, this was something he started, and he's done a phenomenal job growing this team. Really our goal that we do through this team is we want to reduce arrests among the unhoused population. We don't want to criminalize the homeless, and we want to reduce the repeat calls for service, because many times the same folks call over and over again, and instead of just different officers handing it off to someone else, we got a dedicated team to really do some problem solving with them. We want to enhance community relationships, and we want to develop a community-oriented policing approach with this population. In other words, problem solve and bring resources to bear to help with the issue. So one of the things that we started to do this a couple years ago, and it's grown ever since, I know many of you have attended these meetings, is a KDPS monthly partnership meeting that we started to try to close the loop on many of these nonprofits and partners throughout the community that we're working with this population, maybe not sharing information. And so we do this every month, and you can see the list, and it's extensive of all the partners in the community that work with the homeless population. And that's really a good information sharing to see what other agencies are dealing with, what are they seeing, what more can we do to help make sure that folks are getting referred to the right partners out there. So that's the monthly partnership meeting, and that's really the folks that are providing those services. for many different organizations. Then we also have a weekly meeting, and this weekly meeting is more the hands-on folks that are actually dealing with the on-house population every day. That's our officers, that's Gospel Mission, that's Ministry with Community, ISK is part of that, folks from the Kalamazoo Transportation Center, and our city housing inspectors who are out in the field. These are the folks that are in the field having contact with those people. And again, the whole point of that is to make sure that no one's slipping through the cracks and they're getting the help they need or getting referred to the correct resources. And so that's really, really grown. This team, and I tell you, Mary's done a great job with us, and so the other people that we recently added. But just this year alone, this team, and I told you, there's 3 officers and a sergeant. They responded to over 3,000 calls for service and incidents dealing with our homeless population. And so they're very busy, they work hard, they're in the encampments, they're in the fields, and they're making sure that folks are getting the help they need along with ISK and our partners through them. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary to talk more about the nuts and bolts of what this team does, some of the great work they're doing. Mary?
So our team, actually, we're extremely proactive. I would say that more often than not, our calls are proactive rather than reactive to like people calling and complaining about certain encampments. So a lot of the things that we do on a daily basis is we go out to these encampments and we conduct outreach with our very vulnerable population. This is an everyday thing for us, and a lot of times we are running into the same people over and over and over. So recently there was a lot of concern, obviously, of, hey, what are you guys doing for our unhoused that are living out in tents? So what we normally do is the encampments that we know about, we go out to those encampments and we talk to the unhoused people that are living there, and there's certain questions that we ask. Some of those questions are basic needs, right? Are you getting enough food? Are you getting enough water? How are you staying warm? And they'll usually let us know, hey, I'm utilizing this organization or that organization, I'm staying warm, whatever warmth that they're getting from. And then another big thing is, how are you doing mentally? Because we all know that if you're unhoused and you're living in a tent and you already may struggle with drug abuse or mental health issues, putting that cold on top of it can really exacerbate some of the issues that you have. So it's really important for us that we ask them, how are you doing mentally? And the big thing that I pride our team on is we get to know these people very personally. We kind of know what their baseline is. You know, we saw them yesterday, they were doing fine, and then all of a sudden today something happened and they're not doing so fine anymore. Even if they don't tell you, you can kind of pick up on those if you get to know your people really well. So some of the things that we help with, if someone's not doing so well mentally, we go through the steps. We ask them the questions, and then we make a decision. Does this person have to be petitioned for their mental health? If that's the route that we take, then we'll have to do that, right? If it's other things like, if they're saying, hey, I got enough food, I got enough water, I'm warm enough, we always have that plan B with them as well, because we know that that can change overnight. Okay, you might have that today, but if something changes, you can go to this place for food, you can go to this place for shelter. If you have any sort of medical needs, if you need to call 911, you know, there's a house here, there's a business here that might let you use their phone if you need 911, because we know a lot of our unhoused folks don't have that access to 911. So we work with them to kind of go through those steps of, just because you're doing okay now, if something changes, there's a plan B, right? And also, if we go into an encampment and they do request certain resources, there's referrals that we make. You know, we make referrals to ISK all the time. We make referrals to WME Street Med. Even if it's not, let's say, for example, even if someone doesn't have a medical issue that is like priority right this second, we do still make referrals. We let WME Street Med know, hey, this person, you know, they have this. Can you just check on them the next time you guys go out? They go out several times a week and they talk to these people in person, see how they can be medically treated or refer them to a hospital. And then for ISK, we also do a lot of referrals, whether it's for, they're looking for an ID, for a job, for for housing, mental health services, drug abuse services. We make referrals a lot to them, and we lean very, very heavily on our street outreach team, because the street outreach team actually goes into encampments and they lower that barrier so people can actually talk to someone to get those resources. I just want everyone to remember, and I know sometimes we forget this, but it is not criminal to be homeless. It is not criminal to be mentally ill, okay? They have rights just as much as we do. And our team ensures that we take care of our people. We work with the drop-in mission, even people that have been trespassed in the past. We work with them to try and get them into shelter, even if it's just temporarily, overnight, so they can get out of the cold. And I've had the full support of all of our local shelters that actually work with us to bring people in that are, to make it a little less of a barrier, even if they've been like trespassed from the shelters, so.
So again, the team is out there, they're in the field, they're in the trenches, they're contacting these people where they are, and I think that's important. Instead of waiting for a call, they're proactive along with the ISK team, because no one should be outside in the cold. And unfortunately, a small percentage of this population that we're dealing with do not want to go into shelters, and they refuse to go in. And like Officer Miller said, they have rights too. We can't force them to do that unless we can show that they're a danger to themselves or others. Then we could seek a petition to the hospitals. But we can't force them to go. But we can certainly encourage them and offer rides and try to get them in the right situations. But again, many times it's a mental health barrier and a substance abuse barrier that we're trying to work through as well. So with that, I'm open up to any questions.
Thank you, Chief Boyce, I appreciate it. Questions, commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Pradel.
Thank you both for being here for the update as well. Just wanted to ask you a question. I remember back in 2019 when we had the polar vortex, the memory I just particularly remember, Commissioner Cooney was there as well because we were both volunteering night shift at FCC. I remember at the time seeing a number of officers come in periodically, and there'd be individuals that had, a blackened limb because of such severe frostbite. And I remember talking to a couple folks who were officers that were kind of describing like how desperately they were pleading with individuals to please come with me, or can I call somebody to bring you in so you don't die out here, basically. And I just was curious, we've obviously learned a lot since that time, and I'm just curious, hypothetically, if something were to happen similarly of that severity this winter season, how do you foresee that response going and our readiness as a community to respond to that situation?
Yeah, I'll touch on that. You can jump in also, Mary. But I think we've learned a lot since then, and we might not call this a polar vortex, but I think it's pretty cold out there, and people shouldn't be out there in this. And so I think what Mary said is very important. Is they get to know these people and know the baseline, right? So they know if their mental state has changed from one day to the next, and that gives us enough information that we might need to get that petition to order them into treatment. And we have no control of how long they stay, but we can at least get them out of the cold. Because when people say, I'm fine, well, are you really fine? And especially if you're showing signs of frostbite, then we can medically petition them in. So we're very proactive, so we're not waiting for those calls. We're going into those areas, especially on these cold nights. We're checking the parks, we're checking the underpasses, the bridges, known areas, because they know where they congregate and hang out, and we're checking those and being very proactive. So we're not responding to someone was in a certain area for a few days and not checked on.
I also know this is somewhat out of your control in some cases as well, but something I've thought about a lot lately is, say if a private property owner asks to have somebody removed from their property. The thing that particularly kind of scares me in those situations is if the person is then having to be transient and, is traveling in these kind of weather conditions, they might end up, dying of the elements because they're not in the place that they were that was, had a coverage or, a heater or that sort of thing. And so how do you balance those situations where, you're trying to help make sure that person ends up somewhere safely.
So obviously, it's a fine line that we have to walk on for that one. We want to obviously make sure that business owners, homeowners are also, taking care of their property and making sure no one's trespassing on it. But we also have to make sure that this human being also doesn't have the rights taken away. A lot of times, it's a matter of, so we work really, really closely with a lot of business owners, and we'll ask them, well, how long do you want to give them to leave? Because ultimately, most business owners don't want someone camping on their property for various reasons, right? So they'll usually say, well, what do you recommend? And I leave it up to the homeowner on a time frame, and then they'll say whatever, and then we will also talk to our unhoused individual. Hey, realistically, how long do you need to safely get off of this property, and what do you need to get off of this property? And I mean, I get anything from, I can be gone in an hour, or, can you give me a day? We still treat them as a human being. Most of them understand that I know I'm not allowed on this property, I know I'm not supposed to be here, and they're just ready for that police to show up and say, you gotta leave. But we try and work with them and give them whatever time frame that they think is, sufficient enough to grab what they need, and then also work with the property owner to kind of mitigate, the back and forth and how long they can stay there and how long they can't. But going back to your question about also the medical issues, we are very, very, very blessed to have our WME Street Med team. I mean, they are going out to these encampments and they are addressing weather-related injuries. And if they can't take care of it right then and there, they're making referrals. And that team is so phenomenal that I haven't had any unhoused person ever speak badly about that team. If they can't talk someone into going to the hospital when they need to, I don't know that anyone can. They're very well liked and accepted in the unhoused community. Even sometimes if I know that someone's not going to listen to me about going to the hospital and the dangers, I'll have them arrive, and they usually have pretty good rapport, and ultimately, for the most part, can talk them into actually going willingly to the hospital.
Thank you.
Other questions, commissioners? Vice Mayor, yes.
So concerning the cameras downtown, is there a policy currently in place, training, that if you are monitoring those cameras and you see somebody like in the snow, do we send a person to check on that individual? Is there some type of safety check? Is there something going on? Are we using the cameras that we can see downtown spaces as an opportunity to help folks that are out in the cold?
Yeah, that's certainly another set of eyes for us to see something like that, so hopefully we had a quicker response. But we also encourage our downtown beat officers and then our community service team and our officers that patrol the neighborhoods to watch for that. And we can't be everywhere at once, the cameras help, but we also ask the public to help too. If you see someone laying outside, unfortunately I think, and Mayor's touched on this, people get desensitized to that. Call us. You don't have to become involved. You don't have to give your name. Just call 911 saying, hey, there's a person in this location. I think someone should check on them, and we will send someone. I think we ask the public, everyone's eyes and ears to help us with this, because we certainly don't want to have someone laying out in the elements and nobody checking on them, or everyone is just ignoring that issue.
Other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Hess.
Sure. Thanks for all you do, and especially for this report out. Question about capacity at the shelters. What do you know about capacity at all the shelters that are available in Kalamazoo, and are there openings, and can people still go there?
Mary, you got that? She deals with it every day, so I'm going to give her, this is real-time information.
So right now with the mission, obviously they change kind of how they do things in the programs that they have. Either you have to sign up for a program and then you get on a wait list and you get in, you get a bed, and then You basically keep that bed until you graduate out of that program. But then their emergency beds, they have been full. Their check-in is between 1:30 and 3:30 right now. But during the day, when it's under 32 degrees, they let people inside to stay warm. As for ministry with community, they have been at capacity. However, I don't want to rat anybody out. They have not been turning away anyone. And I am talking about people that have been trespassed, and I know that from firsthand experience. So.
Other questions, commissioners? No? All right. Thank you so much for all your work, Officer Miller and Chief, for supporting all those efforts. Thank you for being here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else under communications, Manager Moore?
Nothing else, Mayor.
All right, thank you so much. So now is the opportunity for public comments. This is an opportunity for, not for dialogue, but for you to take advantage of sharing anything of interest or concern with the City Commission. You'll have 4 minutes. Please state your name and whether you live in the city.
Hi, I'm Kay. I live in the township, but I do a lot of work in the city, especially with unhoused people. And they are not a monolith. The cops, like, you know, I may give these dudes the benefit of doubt sometimes, but sometimes I'm out there and they're rude to me. I'm trying to come up and help and, you know, tell people where they could go, and they're just like, I'm going to arrest you for interfering. Like, that's not the reality for everybody, and they're not nice to everybody. And I want to play something right now so y'all can see. Who's going to take care of me? Because the police are taking her partner. She has no legs, and she's in a wheelchair. And the cops were taking her partner, and she's screaming at them, who is going to take care of me out here? Do you think they gave a fuck about her? No, they didn't, okay? So it just really angers me for them to come out up here and, like, want to talk like somebody is doing something good. This is not what we need. We need an overhaul. We need the budget. It did address some things, but it wasn't enough, and I don't know how to, like, make y'all see. Administration, y'all need a better administration. I don't know where these people go to church, if they voted for Trump, what kind of crap they're parenting out here, but I know that they don't care about this community because the budget does not show it. And why were y'all in a rush to approve this budget? I'm not even going to talk about the budget right now because I have so much to talk about. But a man froze to death at Martin Luther King Park. Do you know what that means? Does that not mean anything? And guess what? We had to run to try to keep the narrative of this was a human being. It doesn't matter the circumstances, okay? They have the social worker like once a month. Once a month, they have a social worker. Half the time, you think that they have their hands tied. All they can do is give a referral. And I'm not saying that they're all, you know, out there doing bad, but I'm just saying it is not enough. And for them to come up here and try to give us all this BS, like, the community does not trust KDPS. Not all of the homeless people here, maybe a small percentage who get caught are willing to work with them because there's a power dynamic right there, okay? But a lot of people do not want to confront the police because half the time they get a ticket that they can't even pay, okay? And that bus program that they had, they ticket people into oblivion, forcing them to take that bus ticket, okay? I said this from the beginning, okay? We've got to stop this. We've got to stop this narrative. We've got to see things for what they are. And I appreciate some of you who see the urgency. We are literally in World War III. If you don't believe this, that this country is already in World War III, I don't know where your head is. If you don't believe that there was a lynching, okay, in Kalamazoo, and there's been 4 questionable deaths since then I don't know where your head is. If you don't think the water is boiling on us and fascism is here and this country is falling apart, and we need y'all to show with your money because we're out here. I commend the organizations and that are out there, and people who work at ISK, and people who work with harm reduction, and people who work at street meds. All of those people are half the time, they're putting their own time and effort and money and looking for the money elsewhere because the money does not come from the city. The FFE has not even begun to address generational poverty. And in fact, the Times article said they made it worse. They made it worse. So I beg y'all with all my heart, see the urgency that we are living in this country. See the urgency that we are living right now. It's over for us if y'all don't step up and be vocal about your true selves, where you're aligned to, where your administration is aligned to. Trump, okay?
Thank you. Next, please.
I'm Venetia Rangan. I've been living in Kalamazoo for about a year now. I think Kay pretty much said a lot of what I wanted to say. But before anything else, I'd just like to bring to attention the fact that this morning, a black man was found hanging from a tree by a bridge in town. And since this morning, I have heard zero reporting. I have heard no urgency regarding what we're going to do about the situation, if we even know his name, if we have contacted his family, and we don't know any details. And what I am urging all of you to do is to give us some answers and to investigate the situation and to ensure that the people who are out there sweeping these homeless encampments, robbing people of their documents, leaving them with gigantic hospital bills, fines, tickets, are not the ones leading this pursuit of justice that I think that we all deserve. And it honestly just disgusts me that this kind of system is still being given a platform in these spaces when we are addressing things like homelessness, when we are addressing the most vulnerable populations in our community who are being treated like mental health cases just because they don't trust the people who are taking away what little dignity they have. And until we get answers, until we put our money where our mouths are, I don't believe that anyone in this room deserves a wink of sleep, deserves to feel any sort of peace sitting in the seats that y'all are sitting in, until we actually do something about this that has material value and isn't just a bunch of lip service that allows people like this to come here and lie to y'all's faces. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to kindly request that we neither clap nor boo, just to give this be a fair space for anyone to make their comments, no matter what side of a situation they might fall on. Thank you.
My name is Pete Briota. I live in Portage, Michigan, but I've been a lifelong resident here in Kalamazoo, and I'm just here today to talk about a little bit about the homeless situation that we have here in Kalamazoo. I have a report here from a site called Homeless Life Stories. They report that January 31st, 2024, a report shows that there are 8,123 homeless in Michigan, and that doesn't account for the unaccounted. The people that just try to find a slab outside of the southwest wind to try to get a nice dry piece of concrete that isn't going to get them wet, where the business owner isn't going to come out and say, get the hell off my property, to get a tarp over them just to stay warm for a moment. The people are right here out in the street. There was a report, there was January 17th, 2025 here at the City Commission meeting. We talked about Tammy Christie. She was a 54-year-old that was frozen in the back seat of her car. I don't know if you guys remember that. Frozen in the back seat of her car, homeless. You can call them unhoused, call them what the hell you want, but they're homeless. In the summertime, we could have looked right out here across the street and seen many of them right over here at the park. I've come here in the summertime with my wife many, many times with bottles of water to come down here just to help people. Some people laying over here in the grass that seem unconscious, 30-ish years old. Dude, you need some water? Yeah. He'll take some water. I give him a bottle of water. Okay, it's fine. And we want to talk about all of our stuff here, about everything that we have going and all the good things. Well, the thing was that homeless people, they don't understand the procedural things of life. I met a guy down here. I was down here having coffee on the South Kalamazoo Mall this summer in July. A guy steps up to me. He's got a cardboard thing in front of him. It says homeless. please help, anything. God bless you. I asked the guy, I said, you hungry? He says, yeah, I'm hungry. I'm finishing my cup of coffee here. As he's waiting, I said, let me just get my coffee done here. We'll go down here and get you some food. As I'm sitting here, some other homeless guy comes walking up to him, who is just crazy out of his mind, obviously has mental issues, starts screaming expletives and says, give me pot, give me cigarettes, give me... This homeless guy here is just looking at him. He turns to him and starts cussing him out. The guy walks away. We walk down the mall, we get some food down there at Taco Bob's. We're sitting outside al fresco eating the meal. Again, 15 minutes later, here comes the crazy guy again, cussing the guy out. You know, they kind of know each other from the street. You know, they know each other from the street. This is the first time I've ever met this guy. And finally they have some words and stuff like that, and the guy goes away. He's the devil, you know, he's the devil, get away from me. Now, I want to get back to here to Tammy Christie, 54 years old, frozen in her car. Another man, he was known as Snake, down there, Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Park. This is Martin Luther King Park, literally 3 blocks just this way. If you want to go 3 blocks this way and see what the city of Kalamazoo is, this is where they are. They're right over here. I can take you right down here. It's freezing cold right now, but in the summertime, let me tell you, it's a whole different city on the other side of the train station down here. And there's mental health issues back here, and there's people that are desperate. There's people with children in their hands. I'm down here handing out sandwiches. I think people walking up.
Sir, your time is up. Your time is, no, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Down here in Dr. Martin Luther King Park, and I just had to see this and I'll be done. Snake was found there a few years ago, known as Snake. He was sitting in the park bench down there in Dr. Martin Luther King Park, sitting in a chair as if nothing was going on. And his homeless guys were walking by, Snake.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you.
Just last Wednesday, another person found face down.
Next, please.
In Martin Luther King Park. Now, if Martin Luther King was alive today, do you think he would be happy about that? No. Dr. Martin Luther King was here for character, and we have a park right here 3 blocks away where the people are dying in the park. Now, also,
Sir, you can certainly give your information to another person, but your time is up.
The city has invested more than $29 million in housing-related programs and initiatives.
Your time is up. Thank you.
2011. Since 2011, $29 million. Where's that $29 million for housing, for homelessness and initiatives? Where's the $29 million? That's $2 million a year for the last 14 years. Where's the money going?
Thank you. Next, please.
Let's go down here and show the homeless frozen people. You know, thank them. I'm sorry, but the homeless are suffering, and you can sit here and look at your little charts and listen to these people all we're doing this. There's mental health issues, and these people need help. So, City of Kalamazoo, get it together. There's homeless people freezing.
Next, please.
Hi, my name is Shona Espinoza. We was out all day Saturday transporting our unhoused to warming shelters. All day long. It was so cold out there. And I wasn't even out there as long as them. I was just running in and out of a car. I was extremely sick yesterday. Can you just imagine how our unhoused are from being out there 24/7 out in the cold? Or just briefly out in warming shelters, or briefly sitting in somebody's car, or huddled up in a corner. They're probably sick as ever. I was sick for 24 hours and had to take care of 2 kids. That's not okay. We even encountered police as we was out there. They were more worried about us than they were out there making sure people were getting to warming shelters. There was people in wheelchairs rolling down the middle of North Edwards. They didn't stop them and check on them or say anything to them. They just kept going. So for them to show all this bullshit, it's crazy. That's not what we encounter when we're out here. They out here, we see them being disrespectful, kicking their stuff over, telling them you can't be in the park, you're gonna get a ticket, you're gonna get arrested. So how is that maintaining what they're supposed to be doing? That's not okay. It's cold out here. Kids shouldn't even be going to school. So if they're walking to school or getting on the bus, can you imagine how cold it is for our unhoused? It's cold out here. Nobody should be outside at all. Temps are crazy. Somebody was found dead at MLK Park because of the weather. It's like y'all should have learned from the last time when somebody was found outside dead because it's cold outside. That's a grown person. I was out there Saturday and I seen kids only in a coat. No boots, no snow pants, no hats, no gloves. And them are babies. They were younger than my son, and my son is 9 years old. I couldn't imagine seeing my son out there in the cold like it was Saturday and Sunday. Do better as a commission. Work with the people that are out here doing the work. People are dying. People are asking for help. We're asking you to help us, help our unhoused. We need action, because the lip service, we're tired of it. We need y'all out here. I want to thank Alonzo, Stephanie, and Drew for coming out to the memorial for that young man that had died. Thank you for Drew for coming out Saturday, transporting people. That's what we want to see. The lip service that y'all do, we don't want to see it anymore because it's not getting nowhere. We want y'all out here helping. Stop funding things that aren't doing what they're supposed to. Fund things that are actually out here for the community. We're out here. This breaks my heart, the way this community is out here. People are dying. People are sick. People are cold. People are hungry. Our children are in the same predicaments. Y'all are grown people. Y'all should know that if it's hard for y'all to even walk to your car in the cold, imagine how these people out here are. Imagine how the children are, the babies, the infants, those that are pregnant, our vets, our seniors. Y'all have no clue how hard it is out here because y'all have a place to go home to that's warm. They don't. Do better as a commission.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, I had no intention of speaking today, but I'm Hannah Gingrich. We moved here from Oklahoma 4 years ago, and we chose Kalamazoo specifically for two reasons. One was the guarantee of good education for our children, our two daughters, and two is that we're a sanctuary city. I grew up in a town that did not care about their homeless. I experienced housing insecurity, food insecurity my entire life. I have a brother who is in his 40s who has been unhoused his majority of his life, and the sole reason he is unhoused is because there's not a single program within the radius of Oklahoma that will help him rehabilitate while also being treated for his mental illness. He cannot take anything and be provided any kind of resource by cities. So when we moved here, we expected more, and I'm disappointed. This is shameful. This is beyond shameful what's happening. The lack of credibility, the lack of vetting people that are being put in positions to help people is so far past the point of concerning that it's appearing as negligence. And to see the manifestations of that day after day, I'm a financially privileged person. I get to be a stay-at-home mom. My husband makes 6 figures. We're in an opportunity, in a position to help as much as we can. I watch every day while my friends who have already spoken, who live under poverty lines themselves, give their last penny while you sit up here and no, you guys don't even talk to us. We desperately try. I have been reaching out multiple times about a concern I have about misappropriation of funds given by the city, and it's fallen on deaf ears. So I've gone above. I have. Because apparently you guys aren't interested in actually hearing the realities of what is being faced on these streets. So just know, when history looks back, your faces are going to be there, and what you stood for and how loudly you stood for it, people are going to remember. We can do more. We can do better. We can look to public health professionals who have degrees in these positions. We can make sure that the people that are running the mission are also searching to those people for answers so that we are not disparaging our community by rules that actually do not align with the realities of the situations that they live in. $10 a week for an ID, with or without a mobile clerk, is a week's worth of groceries for someone who's unhoused. Ask me how I know. Because I've been working since I was 13 to provide groceries for my own family until I was able to leave. This is inhumane. It's embarrassing. Kalamazoo should not be a sanctuary city. We should not carry that title because it comes with weight. And none of you, besides the ones who have gone out and actually put effort to their words. Action means everything. Words mean nothing coming from anyone. Action means everything. So do something. We put you in this position. You shouldn't be questioning what we want. We stand up here and we tell you over and over. We email you, we call you. You're not guessing what our asks are and the help that we're asking for. But you're not doing it. And the question is why? Why? Why are we not helping these people? Why are we not helping the least of these? What are we here to do if not to do that? Are you okay, David Anderson, with watching citizens die on your street day after day? Because I can tell you that this reaches all over the country. I have friends from Oklahoma messaging me saying, oh my gosh, you say that you live in this wonderful city and you do all this activism work. What the fuck? What is happening? And I can't answer them because I'm not in power, but you all are. So do something. Just do something. My 6-year-old can grasp this concept. My 6-year-old has done more activism work than I would bet quite a few of you have done. She understands the nuances. She understands that people have less than we do. She understands how to give. She understands how to make sure that people are credible to receive funds to serve our community. So where's the transparency? Where is it? Because I've been begging for it. I have information and I'm ready to talk and no one wants to talk. So guys, I mean, the perception sucks. That's all.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Tina Clinton. I've been coming here for 8 years. December 18th of this month will be 8 years I've been coming here. Never got answers to my questions, just like the lady just spoke of. Now, we've had somebody that froze to death, guys. Come on. Kalamazoo can do better than this. Someone froze. I have sirens and scanners. Everybody should get that. It tells you what's really going on in Kalamazoo. It tells you everything. It's not like the news. They don't make it all, oh, it's not bad. It is. There's a lot happening in Kalamazoo. And why are residents coming to give homeless people rides to shelters? Why isn't the city providing a bus, providing what's that little thing that rides around, the shuttle or whatever? Why aren't you providing transportation for these people? I'm sorry, it's cold out there. And people aren't just out there. There's a lot of people that really need help. We need a mental illness program to help people. How can you do better when you can't get the real help that you need? We need some drug program. We need programs to help people to do better. You can't just slap them somewhere and say, okay, here you go. You gotta help them. You closed down part of the state hospital. You need people need help. It's sad out here, Kalamazoo. People froze to death with no shoes on, no coat. Can you imagine how that feels to be outside when it's really cold and you don't have the proper equipment or nowhere to go? I mean, I was cold. I have a home. I was cold in my house with this weather. That's inside of a house. I can imagine how it is outside. I worked at the mission during the summer. I fed kids there. There's a lot of homeless families out there. There's a lot of children out there in the streets. We do stuff at my school for kids all the time. But there's a lot of kids that need a lot of help. Kalamazoo needs to do better than this. People shouldn't be freezing to death. It shouldn't be happening. All the money floating around Kalamazoo for arenas, for parking ramps, buying this property, buying that property. And yet we still have people living out on the streets freezing in this cold weather. There should be enough beds for everybody. And open the courthouse. You know, it can be a bougie motel. It's wintertime. Open the courthouse. Put some people somewhere. Don't let people freeze to death, guys. Come on. I wouldn't want that on my conscience. I would not. I know you've ignored me for 8 years. For 8 years, I've talked about the flooding over and over and over. Well, when the snow melts, we're going to flood again. And I'll probably have to put another furnace in. But that's me. I work. I have a home. I have something I can do that for. But these people don't have anything. Nothing. How would you feel? You don't have a car. You don't have a coat. You don't have food to eat. I work 2 jobs. I don't buy groceries. I can't afford them. Just got my water bill this month. One person who works 2 jobs, doesn't cook anymore, $223. My water bill was $138 last time. Now it's $222. I barely make ends meet. And to get a water bill like that, why? For what? Water I can't drink because it smells like bleach? Or it's got so many chemicals in it you don't dare trust it? Something needs to be done. Y'all are killing us with these prices. There's no way. I have no leaks. There's no way my water bill can be that high.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, I'm Claire. I live in the Vine. We lost someone last week in our community at Martin Luther King Park. He was 29 years old. He was a dad, a son, and a valuable member of our community, and it has to be said that that was preventable. This cannot be normalized in our community. This is not inevitable. No more excuses or exaggeration of the barriers. We need to do something about this. We have a community of people who know the problems intimately, and it's time for you guys to listen. We need to shift the relationship from an administrative one to a reciprocal one. Show up. Commissioners Hoffman and Wilson, Vice Mayor Duncan, thank you for coming out to the vigil for Chris and for listening. A group of us did transportation to the daytime shelters this weekend and did get to hear from some people about what the barriers are to accessibility. And I just wanted to lift up 3 of those. One of them being that the information about the daytime shelters is not being disseminated. If people don't know where to go, how are they going to go and know where to go? Additionally, transportation. So the nearest one is 5 miles away, and it's only open 2 days a week for a few hours. The ones that are open more consistently are 7 miles away. So how are people going to get there? What is the city doing to get people into these shelters during the day? Having to register with HRI, show ID, not allowing pets, not allowing kids, those are major barriers, and we need something that's better and something that's more accessible. I want us to be on the same page that despite these barriers, we're going to continue trying to get people into these shelters. So the Portage Library didn't even know that they were identified as a warming shelter on the city website, so they had to scramble to get that set up. This is going to expose the cracks that need to be addressed by the city, and we're going to keep bringing people, and those cracks are going to get exposed. Why are the shelters so far away? We could have shelters here in Kalamazoo, churches. We could open up City Hall. We could open up the library. Why is that not happening? Why has that not been happening? Anderson, you've sat on so many of these housing boards. You sit on the city commission for 12 years, and I gotta ask, do you feel personal responsibility? I feel personal responsibility as a community member and a person that has a certain amount of privilege. I gotta ask, do you feel that at night when you go to sleep? Do you feel the people that are out there in the cold? Do you understand how that's affecting a day-to-day of their lives? I think you should. I've read some of your interviews about this crisis, and it's very complacent. It's very, shifting the blame onto other things and identifying barriers that are over-exaggerated. That's not enough, man. That's not enough. You're the mayor. You've been on this board for 12 years. You sit on so many housing boards. We need to get creative and think outside of the box here. Other communities have done this. It can be done. Additionally, another person was found hanging from a tree this morning. We need answers. Anderson, you've talked about how national government issues don't apply somehow here in Kalamazoo. That's so out of touch. That's so out of touch. I need you to get real about that, and I need you to be proactive about that. People are scared. This affects people's day-to-day lives. The stuff on the national level does, in fact, trickle down, and it's not a separate issue. I can't emphasize enough how much we need you guys to do your jobs here. If you feel like your hands are tied because of policies, change them. You had people come up and say really nice sounding things about what the community safety team is doing that we're interestingly just hearing about now in mid-December and after losing a community member. You talked about how it's not illegal to be homeless, but the city ordinance criminalizes it. So change those policies then if you're not calling it illegal to be homeless. I don't know, work with us.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hey guys, my name's Stephanie Morton. I actually live in Portage, but I did come into Kalamazoo to help this weekend. I'm pretty new to all of this. I don't have the experience these amazing people behind me do. I'm talking a little fast, I'll slow it down. These are all really hard things, guys, and I know you know that, and I know you've heard this more than once. It's really easy to look at that list of people offering services and say there's services available. It's not enough. When people every day are asking who has coats, who has gloves, who has boots, and your citizens are the ones giving that stuff to the city, to the people out there who need it, that's not right. That's not sustainable. It's not just about shelters, it's about making sure people have what they need, and that's not happening. And we all know, right? We all have limited budgets. The fact that you have these amazing people offering things every day, going out and buying things every day for people who need things, I cannot believe people are that generous. It's not sustainable. You need to do better. That's all.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Sarah. I'm a 20-year resident of Kalamazoo, a homeowner in the Vine neighborhood, and a Section 8 property manager for almost 9 years. I came here tonight to ask you all to provide the community with details about the man who was found hanging dead from a tree outside Urban Alliance on Stockbridge early this morning, and has been confirmed in recordings from the KDPS scanner. No public reporting or statement has been issued. The area is cleared as though it's not a crime scene, as though nothing happened. After what we all know happened to Trey Reed in Mississippi this year, after what happened to Earl Smith in New York, as we all damn well know that black men do not hang themselves from trees in public spaces, after a woman was found hanging from a tree in Asylum Lake in September with no details provided and quickly ruled a suicide, I want to urge you all to insist on a thorough investigation of this horrific death and possible lynching that occurred this morning, and to provide the public with accountability as soon as possible. On my way here, I passed an ambulance responding to an elderly black man collapsed on the sidewalk on West Main. A few days ago, a man was found frozen to death in MLK Park. On Saturday, I participated with a caravan to bring people from Ministry with Community to the Portage Library because last winter this city stood by while our most vital hub of public space and public service, the Kalamazoo Public Library downtown branch, callously discontinued its status as a warming shelter so that they can have license to kick their unhoused patrons out into fatal temperatures. People are dying. The unhoused population is spiking. My wait list is longer than it's ever been. Kalamazoo needs to address this as the absolute crisis that it is. If churches won't open their doors to save lives, you strip their tax exemption. Seize the thousands of empty units hoarded by slumlords and Merrill Lynch with eminent domain. Do better, do more, do something.
Thank you. Next, please.
So we all know that there is a serious crisis in Kalamazoo, a housing crisis, a growing food crisis. I would like to echo what all of my friends have said so far this evening. But what many people don't realize is that there's also an incredibly serious pet crisis happening along with it, and it's gotten exponentially worse in recent years because people do not stop having pets when they lose housing or income. They won't go without them. Pets are family, emotional support, protection, and sometimes the only constant someone has left. And when systems fail to plan for that reality, people are forced into impossible choices, and animals have to pay the price. My name is Abby Thompson. I'm the founder and volunteer executive director of KZU Cat Cafe and Rescue on Westnitch. We're a very small organization with very limited resources, but we see the consequences of these gaps every single day. I regularly post about our no flea market, a small give and take cabinet for pet supplies like a little library. From just one recent Facebook post, over 45 people reached out to me needing cat food or spay-neuter resources, or also for dogs as well. 2 people have contacted us within the last couple weeks because they're facing homelessness and need help keeping their pets. Police officers have reached out to me for assistance with cats for community members. And just last week, 3 cats were dumped at our back door, which I learned today was also related to homelessness. We recently also tried to help a critically ill cat whose situation began with housing instability, and despite over $1,000 of amazing emergency vet care, she did not make it. And these are not isolated incidents. It's happened before. It's going to continue to happen. It's not an anomaly. It's a systematic failure. What's especially discouraging is when we refer people to resources that are supposed to exist and they're turned away, met with roadblocks at every single step, and when that happens, there's basically nowhere for pets to go. I know some amazing humans that volunteer their own time and resources to help housing insecure and food insecure community members when they can, but I don't know of any of this for people with pets. These humans don't have the big names, they certainly don't have the big bucks, but they're out here doing the real work without barriers, without expectations, without requirements that are impossible to meet, like having an ID to get food for your pets, or having them have to be required to be spayed or neutered, a service which is essentially unavailable in this community without funding or transportation. Just humans helping people with the few resources that they have. The little guys can't provide all the resources and services that other private and taxpayer-funded organizations claim to when they inevitably don't. We can't even reliably refer members of the community who reach out to us to these other resources because they don't exist. I've been making phone calls, sending emails, and recruiting friends to help me do the same and cannot find anything. It just does not exist here. If you're facing housing or food insecurity, not only for yourself, but for your pet, you literally have no options. Speaking of the people earlier that aren't wanting to go and use the resources or go to the gospel mission or these places because they don't allow pets. The warming shelters don't allow pets. What are people supposed to do? Ignorance may lead some in the community to have false misconceptions about our unhoused neighbors, but whatever you believe about the humans, the animals don't choose instability. They can't just go get a job, and they don't understand why they're going without food. So tonight I'm asking the commission to seriously consider what role the city of Kalamazoo can and should play in supporting pets during this time of crisis. Funding, partnerships, planning, policy, it's not about charity, it's about solutions that keep people and animals together, prevent abandonment, reduce strain on shelters, and ultimately save the city and county resources. Systems are failing people and pets right now, right here in our community, and we can do better to help our unhoused neighbors, not just the human.
Thank you. Next, please. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Marissa Wagner, and like those who spoke before me, I'm here today because not only was yet another person found frozen to death, but a black man was also found hanging from a tree this morning. These are not abstract tragedies or isolated incidents. They are warnings. When a black man is found hanging from a tree, the community does not have the luxury of assuming neutrality or silence. Given the history of this country and the lived experience of black residents today, such a death immediately raises fear, trauma, and unanswered questions. The harm to this community is already real, and it demands a serious, transparent response. We need timely public updates regarding the investigation into this death with sensitivity to the racial trauma this incident has caused. Black men do not hang themselves from trees. At the same time, Kalamazoo continues to lose unhoused residents to the cold under this commission's watch. People are dying not because we lack resources, but because we lack urgency, coordination, and political will. Freezing to death is not inevitable. It is a policy failure. A city that is safe and claims to value equity does not wait until someone is dead to act. We also need immediate action on cold weather response. This means expanded warming centers, transportation to those centers, proactive outreach, not just referrals, and a guarantee that no one is turned away because of capacity, paperwork, or sobriety requirements. We need measurable commitments, funding allocations, timelines, and public reporting on homelessness prevention, housing first strategies, and emergency response. Compassion without structure is not enough. People are watching to see how this city responds. This commission has the authority to treat these deaths as unacceptable and to act on it. The measure of this city is not what we say after tragedy. It is what we do to prevent the next one from happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dano. I'm here, city resident. And first of all, I want to thank, 6 months ago in June, it was a lot warmer than today. I came here and I did talk about the things that are happening in this country, especially here in our local communities. And for me coming here, we have assist a couple hundred families on Know Your Rights presentations, and also we help them with family preparations. And of course, all rumbles up with ICE. In Spanish and English, so that was very, very helpful. So thank you for giving me the space here to address that. That was very, very wonderful, and we're still doing that. And also, I'm a co-chair at the Migrant Resource Council in Southwestern Michigan, and 3 weeks ago, I put a flyer out there, and so many unsung heroes, and especially the huge icon Wendy Fields, came out of nowhere with no suggestion whatsoever. And we met up, and her team, the NAACP, did a huge, huge contribution. The Montessori School did a contribution on contributing food for the Van Buren migrant families. There's so many migrant families come here every year, and they do the work that we don't want to do, and we know that. And 3 weeks to prepare, outstanding. I mean, even if it was 1 bag or 5 bags or 10 bags, even people in this room donated. So that was very, very awesome. Of course, Van Buren County, just like anyone else, they were eliminating on funding. So there is 60% that we could, what to do. But I'm glad a lot of people from Kalamazoo and a few other areas did contribute. So my salutes to Wendy Fields. And also, we're doing our 9th annual coat drive, and that's something that we do voluntarily. Started in 2017 with the volunteerism of the late Mr. Juan Muñiz and Maria Muñiz. So we just need to keep that leadership forward, regardless the color of your skin, regardless of what language you speak. We still need to keep that volunteerism out there. And I was very touched a few weeks ago, a day before Thanksgiving, seeing quite a few individuals out there here in this panel that went out there. So much appreciate you. I salute you. And also, we have been going to so many universities like U of M, MSU, Lansing Community College, Western, and a few other places that we're doing Know Your Rights sessions to these students. And the faculty. But there's one thing that I'm just very bummed about. Since February of this year, I sent out 5 emails to Kalamazoo Public Schools here. We have not received one email back. I just want a little room to talk about Know Your Rights sessions and family preparations. And I went to where all the Spanish immersion programs are at, or people that look like me, so that way at least we can help mom and dad, we can help the students. The way I look at it, if you can have twerk classes in schools, why not the things that we want to do at the universities outside of Kalamazoo are accepting us, and no one have reached out to us whatsoever. I might be in the wrong room, not being in the Kalamazoo administration building, but there's a lot of parents, a lot of grandparents, and that are being in the same, under the umbrella of the actual Kalamazoo. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please. Is there anyone in the chambers who would like to take advantage of this public comment period? All right.
Hello, my name's Tori, been here before. I can't say anything that hasn't already been said 10 times over. I hope you all took moments, and we'll take moments from today with you when you go home. There were a lot of big feelings. This is real. We're your constituents. We're your community. These are the things we care about. It's a really scary time for anybody who isn't cis, het, white, male, and well off. It is a scary time. And I really want you to internalize that, especially if you aren't a marginalized person. It is very scary for all of us. There are a few quick things I wanted to say. Like I said, there's nothing that I can address that hasn't been said better today. So think about all these beautiful people and all the things they've said. I do want to address that your first speaker who came up, the video that she played that was kind of harrowing and upsetting, the screaming person, that's a video that was taken in Kalamazoo. The woman who doesn't have legs, that was taken this summer. We know her. Anybody who works, downtown with the homeless community knows her. But that was here. That is not an abstraction. That is a real life, a real person, and that pain was real. She wasn't acting, and she wasn't being told or coached. She didn't know she was being filmed in one of the worst moments of, I'm sure, her life. So I would encourage you to really sit with that. I can email you that video. Not that anyone wants to watch that, but it's important. People are turned away from shelters. I don't even understand why you would have police officers come here and say that. That's so patently untrue. Again, if you talk to any of the members of the homeless community, they could tell you. And there's all kinds of reasons that people are turned away. I also want to address, guys, maybe we can think about why it's a bad idea to have cops come talk to homeless people about resources. Why, can we ask ourselves why that might not be the most effective method? Can we just think about the juxtaposition of having these people wearing military grade equipment relative to the title that says community service? What the hell is that? Guys, that's not what a community service is. What community service is what these people were doing on their day off when it was dangerously cold outside, facilitating, making sure that people weren't losing their limbs by transporting folks to and from warming shelters, because there's not a good system. You have enough of a system here that makes it look nice on paper, but in practical terms, the warming shelters relative to the housing shelters are not proximal. There's not a 24/7 shelter. That's the biggest ask, to be completely honest with you. And it's dangerous out here. And it's the Midwest, guys. I'm not from here. It's cold as shit. It's so freaking cold. And you guys know that. It's not life-sustaining. So please give us a 24/7 shelter. Thanks. Sorry, I've rambled a bit.
Thank you. Next, please. Anyone else wants to take advantage of public comment time? See no one. I want to thank everyone that came and expressed their profound and deeply held feelings and made their comments for our business meeting here. Next is public hearing. Manager Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our public hearing to receive comments on the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget, and I would like CFO Steve Vicenci to come forward.
Welcome, Steve. Sensei, nice to have you here.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Just a few brief comments before we open the public hearing. So tonight is our time to receive comments from the public on the budget. Just as a reminder, this budget includes millages for city operations of 12 mills, solid waste of 1.8 mills, and there's a DDA millage in our component unit of 2 mills. Just going through the timeline a little bit, November 25th, the budget was released publicly on our city website. December 8th, last week, we had our public budget work session. Tonight, we're doing the public hearing, and then we'll be returning January 5th for requested approval of the budget. And so with that, I will turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Particular questions for Steve Vicenci? Okay, just a reminder, this is a public hearing. This is time for comments. There will be no action taken by the commission this evening. Commissioner Slaby.
I'm not sure if Steve Brown's in the audience still either, but could you tell us a little bit more about how the Youth Mobility Fund works? And as a line item in the budget, over the past few years, have you seen us exhaust that line item by the end of the year?
I'm gonna let Steve Brown answer that as he's on his way up here.
Welcome, Director Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for the question. The Youth Mobility Fund, as a quick recap, gives up to 400 passes to eligible high school students to have unlimited free transportation on the Metro bus system. We have not had an instance where funds have run out. And what we had this past year was there were remaining funds, and we topped up that amount sufficient to get us through the next service window. The school year is different from the cities and the FFE's fiscal year, which is a calendar year, so we always have to jog a little bit to make sure that we're in alignment, but we have not had resource concerns at the end of the service period.
And what would you say at the end of the year, what we're left with?
In terms of dollars, I'd have to check on that.
Okay. I had another question, but it wasn't for them. It was more like a discussion topic with commissioners.
Okay, so let's hold on a second. Any other questions for Steve Vicenci while he's up here? Commission? All right, seeing none, thank you. Thank you, Director Brown. Commissioner Slaby.
Thank you. So I know last Monday during our special budget session, I had brought up thoughts around increasing our investment into the neighborhoods and also exploring how we can actually support the work that we do in regards to sustainability. When we have a community sustainability plan, we've made a full-time position for sustainability, but we haven't necessarily dedicated funding to support that work directly. And so in thinking about what we had explored in previous years as a staff person and looking at what other communities do and what neighborhoods have brought up as things that would be helpful to them when talking with neighborhood associations, I thought, would it be possible for us to replenish the Quick Win Fund, which year to year, usually if you have a neighborhood that has a neighborhood plan approved, they would get between $5,000 to $7,500 a year to be able to spend on items that are outlined in their neighborhood plan to get those implemented. This past year, due to budget constraints, that funding didn't exist, and so we went the route of providing up to $1,000 for each neighborhood for residents directly to apply to be able to implement a project of their choosing from their neighborhood plan. So understanding that this is something that neighborhoods appreciated, residents appreciated, and would like to see come back, and acknowledging that we've only budgeted $15,000 for our neighborhood planning for this year to do organizing work across all 22 neighborhoods. I would love to see the feasibility of dedicating $5,000 per neighborhood with a neighborhood plan, so that's 9, so that's $45,000, for neighborhood associations and the residents to be able to apply up to that $5,000 for a sustainability-related project that's outlined in their neighborhood plan. And that, I think, could give us a nice pilot to understand when we do these theme-related quick win projects, you know, is there indeed a need? Do people follow through with their project ideas, and is the implementation successful? And potentially, we could see if we could leverage our city commission dollars to be able to support that work, or see if there's any way we could adjust the budget from different funding sources to support that work. Because for this transition into our new master plan, I think that the commitment that was made by the city to the neighborhoods that got their neighborhood plans approved was this assurance that they would receive that support to continue to implement that work. And I think that it's important for us to make good on that commitment, and I think this is an opportunity for us to get back to that level of support while we figure out what that model looks like moving forward with the new master plan. So I was curious if other commissioners, what they thought about that, and potentially what funding source that could come from, and if that's something that we would like to be explored leading up to January 5th.
Thanks, Commissioner Slaby. Other thoughts on that topic, commissioners? Commissioner Hess.
Sure. Thanks for bringing that up, Commissioner Slaby. I am reminded of our commission funding and the fact that there is some left in this budget cycle. I really don't know whether we do something like that with next year's funding, but with this year's budget cycle, I wonder if we can direct staff to look and see what there is, and if it's possible to work on a transportation plan for the unhoused to warming shelters. Just throwing it out there. It's something that it's a resource that we have available to us, and it sounds like it's something that's very needed in this community.
So 2 different budget ideas. Vice Mayor Duncan?
I know this is a non-action, but second. One, thank you to the community members who have been working on this with myself, but we have actually identified a faith institution that is willing to give us access to their location for a warming shelter and also access to their bus. So this would be a great opportunity for us to supplement their risk with us with some dollars. So thank you, Commissioner Hess.
I just wonder, we can just ask tomorrow during business hours to have staff look into that.
Other thoughts, commissioners? Commissioner Pradle.
Do we know the current balance of the commission fund for the year?
Manager Moore?
CFO Vicenci, do we have that available this evening?
Then we believe the current balance is $88,000 remaining for this year.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I would tend to agree. I think, I mean, I don't want to make a poor decision, but I also don't like the idea of just sitting on $88,000 when there's significant needs in the community. To kind of talk a little bit about Commissioner Slaby's point about neighborhood funding as well. Large part of this proposal came through a conversation we were both having today, just kind of having an ideation session. And I think we were talking about just levels of funding in the neighborhoods that have kind of stagnated, and that there are opportunities where we could try to provide an injection of funds that could support multiple aims, right? Supporting our neighborhoods, but also supporting sustainability efforts. And so when we were talking about it, one of the things that we discussed was that commission fund might be a good source of that, rather than, get to each end of the year and have significant funds that are there trying to empower our neighborhoods to identify ideas that the residents are excited about, and let them dream up what they want to try in the neighborhood to achieve some of our sustainability aims. But I also think that if there are opportunities like additional shelter that would need funding or whatever, that would be a perfectly good source of using those funds as well towards the end of the year. I hate the idea of funding rolling over each year if we have the funds.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, I have to say I fully agree with repurposing those funds to address the more important need right now of the unhoused in this very cold weather, outside of transportation, as well as the temporary housing from the church that agreed with us. I think we should also allocate some funds towards being more creative with how we disseminate the info about these warming shelters. The unhoused don't have the luxury of having TV, so anything on the news might not be suitable for them. A lot of them don't have mobile devices at their disposal, so I think we need to address how we disseminate that information.
Commissioner Slaby.
Well, I think that this makes sense to talk about designating funding and what we want to see allocated for all of these topics that have been brought up. I do want to remind everyone that we have a new business item around the very activity that we're talking about, putting together a possible commission subcommittee to talk about the city's homelessness response, which would look at the dissemination of information, coordination, and also transportation options. I think that also there's so many different needs in this community, but that doesn't mean that we have to compete or pin, one need versus another, right? This isn't about, we have a finite amount of resources, we only have 80,000, we gotta figure out where to put them, and they're either this end or this end. So I just wanted to close the loop on something that I had brought up as a need from the neighborhoods, and the fact that we haven't increased their funding for over 10 years. And being able to reconcile that, at least for this next year, as a transition to the master plan. And I also think that there's probably other ways to adjust the budget to address some of these things that have come up. I know that there's been other organizations and groups around other needs, like business supports, that wanted to explore if there can be assistance. And so I think this is a great opportunity to talk about all these things, and just as a reminder, we will be talking about this idea of the city's homelessness response later in the agenda that I think could help us really figure out next steps for a more coordinated effort than just putting money on one action item one time, and being able to do a more sustainable approach to be able to address the homelessness issue that we face here in the city of Kalamazoo.
Other comments? Vice Mayor Duncan?
I just wanted to lift up another organization that could not be here tonight, Sisters in Business. I had the wonderful opportunity to speak to them at the Discover Kalamazoo meeting, and those young ladies over there are doing amazing, amazing work. They are requesting they need dollars. Everybody needs dollars, but they need critical dollars. Some of the work that they do, if you are entrepreneur of color, specifically Black women, and you're working with them, let's say you get booked for a gig in Lansing, and you've got all the funds to produce what you need, but don't have gas to get there, this organization would step in and make sure that you can, get to the job, which I think is critical. Being raised by a single Black mom, I know how important it is to book that job, to book that that next catering gig. It's incredibly important, and they're not asking for a lot. So I know that we don't have a lot of dollars, and not trying to pit the interests against each other, but I would really like us to take a deep dive at this 88 that we have left and see what we can do. How much good can we spread before the end of the year?
Other comments, commissioners? Vice Mayor.
1A to that comment, and then also to the young lady's comment about our pets. I have gone to Cat Cafe several times, and they too are in need of funds. Our community is kind of dumping their pets onto that nonprofit, and if we don't, do something to help, we might not have that resource here next year. So something to think about as well.
Commissioner Slaby, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I know we're going to hear from the audience, and I'm really excited to hear if people have additional thoughts to what we've already laid out here and last Monday. I'm more curious about, we're not taking any action today, but a lot of different conversations have come up. And so what is the best way forward to be able to have staff potentially come back and provide us any options based on what we've shared in terms of other funding sources or feasibility of any of these items for 2026, or hey, we're not going to be able to make it in this budget, but this is what it looks like to maybe put it on our commission retreat agenda, or there's another step, another path for 2027, just so that everything that we talk about here, and especially public comments that are going to come after this, kind of just doesn't go out in the universe and doesn't find itself a home for us to be able to actually address and close the loop on.
So just relative to all that, because I'm sure that the longer we talk, more ideas will come up. So relative to all that, I would say that in any given idea, number one, we'll ask our attorney, Leal, is that something that we can spend our general fund dollars on? For example, there will be certain expectations, requirements. We're not just a foundation that just donates to one thing or another. So they'll have to be that. Additionally, in any relationship, there will like you talk about all the time, Commissioner Slaby, what are the expectations? What does a contract look like? What are expected outcomes? And that means in any given idea, rather than just sitting here and saying, well, I don't know, let's throw 30 grand here or 40 grand there, it should be tied back to some actual budgeting and contemplation of what the need is and what the expenses are, so you see a budget. So there's a whole kind of a variety of steps that need to occur to turn this from an ideation session into something. Is there actually a way to include some items in our budget that we're talking about, or even reallocate some money out of this year's budget? So I would suggest, related to that, we've got several ideas coming forward. Your initial idea was proposing neighborhood funding, right? So that's one. So I don't know if we want to have one smaller subcommittee meet here from the commission and roll through all these ideas. I don't know if that should include people who have represented, one idea or another in order to kind of have a balanced approach to it, but that would be a way to take it, is to say, okay, what do we need to do to turn these ideas into practical actions that are legal and possible? I would say that that's the next step.
I think that'd be great. I think that would be the most efficient use of our time, with the little time we have to be able to explore this and discuss prior to approving it early next month.
One thing about that is it's not necessarily our job per se to say, well, we want money from this item or this item. It's really coming up with these ideas, and then it's the city team that would say, well, hey, in this particular instance, probably be, here's a suggestion. Maybe this should come from the commission fund, or maybe there's some other fund that's not being spent, as you mentioned, Commissioner Slaby. So that problem is not necessarily the problem that commissioners have to solve. I would say if commissioners are interested in particular things, then what, and this is short time frame, but what is, what's that really look like at the end of the day? What is the function of that? Who would be the fiduciary? How is all that going to work? Vice Mayor?
Mayor, what is that timeline? Is it December 31st? Is that the end of this year's budget for us? Or is it at the beginning of or Mrs. Moore?
Well, we have to have a budget adopted before, on or before February 1st.
So we have some time. We have, at this point, though, we have it scheduled to approve our budget at our January 5th meeting.
That is correct.
So it'd be nice if we could get that done by that time.
Follow up.
Early.
Are these funds use them or lose them?
It's our money, so we don't lose it anywhere.
In your initiative funds? Yes. No.
Thank you so much.
Attorney Leal, anything you'd like to add to this?
I gave a presentation last year on proper municipal expenditures. I think it was in April or May of '24 at one of the COWs. But just so that we understand that the Michigan Constitution basically limits the way the cities and villages can spend general fund dollars, there has to be two criteria that have to be met. One, that it has to be a public municipal purpose, and the other is that it's authorized by law. By that, we usually mean, is there a statute or a court decision out there that authorizes that expenditure? For about 95 to 97% of the expenditures we make as part of the operations, whether it's to, fix sidewalks, build streets, maintain parks, there's a statutory provision that authorizes cities to do that. The tricky part is when you start talking about donating funds to private individuals or private organizations, because we still have to look for a statute that authorizes that permissible expenditure. And so in some cases we can, and in other cases we can't, because we do dig in and try to find a statute that helps. Shops or the senior program that we have every December to buy, there's actually a statute for, and it's called Assistance for Older Persons, that actually allows that kind of expenditure. In other cases, while the organization may have a good purpose, there's no statutory authorization to provide them the funding. So again, I would really recommend that, before that conversation, to go back and look at that COW presentation, because we had a long list of items, mostly for private nonprofits, that were looking for funding out of the $100,000 commission fund. And so I think that would be very helpful for the discussion.
Thank you, Attorney Leal. So that said, and to further this conversation, are there 3 commissioners that would like to participate in this subcommittee process? Vice Mayor Duncan is one. I assume Commissioner Slaby, you would like to.
I'd love to, if possible.
Okay. First 3 volunteers get it then. So Commissioner Pradel. And here's what I would suggest is that you do stay in touch. It was a long presentation. It was helpful. It was deep in the weeds, so I'm not going to necessarily throw that at anybody, but I would say that I'm sure that our city attorney here will be happy to review at least some initial ideas and say, hey, this is going to work, or I don't think it is, or this is what it should look like. Is that accurate, Attorney Leal?
Of course, sir. Yes.
Okay. So that said, we're set. We don't have to vote on this. We have the subcommittee, and I'm going to let you all figure out when you would like to get together. But I would just say, all due speed. Let's bring this forward and incorporate this. It feels like a thoughtful way and not a last-minute way. Any other conversation, commissioners? Right. Now is the opportunity for anyone who is here in the chambers who would like to comment on our fiscal year 2026 proposed budget for the city of Kalamazoo. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and whether you live in the city.
Hello, I'm Kay. I live in the township. So the city survey, the one that Laura Lamb talked about, was 2,800 surveys, only a 10% response. It's weighed against the census and has a 95% success rate. And it's just very concerning because every time there's a survey, I hear about that there's certain communities who do not get this survey. Poor communities do not get this survey.
This is related to the budget, right?
Yes, it's related to the budget, because when this is what Laura Lamb talked about. You're basing the budget, some of this heavily, on data that only has a 10% return rate, and it doesn't even go to communities that really should be included in this. The disconnect, the residents feel the quality of life in critical areas such as safety, housing, the environment doesn't match the importance. We can't budget based on outdated perceptions. We must budget based on the urgent reality our neighbors live every day: housing, homelessness, the environmental crisis, and especially I want to talk about economic mobility, because when we talk about the Alice community, we're talking about people living paycheck to paycheck and not thriving, right? And this budget does not. It does address 3 core things. I want to say that, but there's 7 out of 3, and it doesn't give the community any money to thrive. And I'm happy to see specific funds being asked, but it's just not enough. Transportation, youth development. I mean, we need to address poverty. We need to address the school to prison pipeline. We need to address the Alice community. We need to address, not put a Band-Aid. Some of this is just a Band-Aid on a lot of things. And I'm so happy. I know I'm speaking broadly, but I'm going to go to the next retreat, right? Because this is important. We need to see the urgency of the country, and I'm just like, oh, this budget is just does not reflect the reality that the community is living. And I commend some of the key areas I don't want to go into because I don't have a lot of time, but I did go through this budget, and there is some good commendable things, but I just want you all to think about the urgency, right? And also, if we have till February 1st, let's move the budget. That way, like you said, maybe there is some kind of urgency, but we want to be intentional, right? So let's move it to the last meeting in January would be the best thing. For community members to be able to get more input, for this committee to be able to, address, I agree with everything that was said here. If there's some money, let's put it forward, and let's be intentional about what we're doing with this budget. And I hope to see other budgets that are really addressing more than just a few things, because have an environmental crisis and a
Thank you. Next, please.
I'm Claire again. I live in this city. I think, to be honest with you, I'm going to be so real. I didn't have time to learn the language of city budgets. I had finals. But I did give it a look over, and it looks good on paper, and it looks nice, and it has language about equity. It has language about allocating funds. But what I'm concerned about is that it seems to be a pattern that the language actually doesn't match the functionality. Like we saw with the city ordinance, somebody actually came up here and said it's not illegal to be houseless, but in function, the city ordinance criminalizes it. So just kind of wanting to make the case for buying ourselves some more time here. That way we could have some more time to understand the city budget as a community. Like somebody was just saying, that survey I didn't get it. I mean, it went out, I think it said 200 people responded to it. That's not enough, right? If you want our input, that's really not enough. And so I would just say moving that to the end of the time that we have to pass that would be a good idea. We heard about the housing crisis here today. A lot of people spoke on that. If we bought ourselves some more time, we could be more intentional with those funds. You guys just said that there's some that's locked up that we could use for next year. We could fund 24-hour shelters. We could mitigate some of these issues that you heard about today, like the information being actually given to people, right? So if I don't have a phone, if I don't have internet access, how am I supposed to find out where these shelters are? If I don't have transportation to the shelters and they're 7 miles away, how am I supposed to get there? So that's all going to take funding and intentionality that I don't think that we have time for on January 5th. It's like the holidays. I don't know if you guys celebrate or not, but like it could get caught up in that. And I just want to make sure that we have time as a community, but also like for you guys to be super intentional, unpack the things that we heard today. Our community is asking for that responsibility, right? And the intentionality, because if we go into another cycle and it's just the same stuff, right? The language is great, but the function is bad. You know, people are experiencing things like never before. And I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that, you know, we have to be proactive about this. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to take advantage of this public comment period on the budget? Yes.
Hello, Chris Glasser from the East Side. I'd like to start off by saying that I miss the budget being offered as just a single PDF file. While some people might enjoy the new online format, I do find it kind of difficult to have to constantly go in and out of the different sections versus being able just to scroll through it and maybe even use Control F to find certain keywords. So if there is still a PDF version available, I would like that to be made accessible to the public if possible. After attending the session last week, I must say that the budget being presented to the City Commission offers little context into the priorities of the city and the programs that they are hoping to fund. Seeing that, oh, this department got this much funding last year and we're proposing this much funding this year, that doesn't tell us very much. That doesn't show us how 2026 is going to be different from 2025. Just showing a number shift without going more into detail about how those are going to be spent doesn't give us that much context. I also wonder this: is it expected that the City Commission simply rubber stamp the budget proposed by city staff? What does dissent look like? There isn't much time to really consider proposed changes or alternatives to what is given to the commission. We're talking about, you had a session last week, we have this session this week, and then the next official session is when you're expected to approve it. How much do you truly have time to actually be deliberate about this budget? The ability of this commission to either approve or vote down this budget is a large part of the way that commissioners can influence the city and represent the will of the people that elected them into the position. So I look forward to seeing if the commission approves the budget as is, or if they will offer changes that offer some changes as we approach the looming budget deadline. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to take advantage of this public comment period?
Qianna Gingrich, I live in the city. I just had a couple of thoughts. I really love the idea of a committee to address the unhoused, but I would love to see nothing less than a licensed public health professional on that committee. I think that the failures have been so broad in this particular aspect that we need full transparency there, and I know that that's a big ask. That's something that's going to have to come with further discussion in future budgets, but I think it's prudent. Kalamazoo is well known for its issues in this particular aspect, so I think that while that's a great idea and I love it, I wanted to echo and add on to that needs to be an accompaniment of that. I also love your idea about the communities I live in the township, and I think $5,000 will go super far in our, in that area. But I also echo over here that this is the most pressing issue. And so to the point of that, I understand that the legalities that Attorney Leal highlighted about the recipients, potential recipients of these last minute funds. Can the city please consider directly purchasing survival gear? Tents, gloves, hats, warming gear, things like that. It doesn't have to even be the majority of the budget, obviously, just a small, to make a significant impact. I'm a baker in town. I sold $60 in cookies on Saturday last minute that took my afternoon away from my kids just so I could buy a tent for a guy. It's not fair, guys. You're stealing from your citizens. And I think this moment right now with this extra funds would be a moment to give back in that aspect in a way that is so desperately needed. Survival gear is so hard to come by. I mean, we are literally just pulling pennies together. So please consider that when you're thinking about these last funds, appropriating maybe a portion of that just to directly purchase and somehow facilitate the city getting those into the encampments, and also working with those that have the trust of the citizens living in the encampments. Do not send the police in with these tents. Don't do it. It's not fair. It lacks nuance. It makes you look foolish. You can't keep doing that. So just please keep that nuance in thought. Consider chatting with some of us that are downtown every day about how to implement that if you need input. But really, I'm just asking you, use some of those dollars to save some bodies, please. I know that we can move this until February, talk about everything. Someone's going to die between now and then. So if that can be a consideration, I can tell you that as someone deeply rooted in this particular aspect of the community, there is nothing more important than that to our community right now. Nothing. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you once again for all the comments on our fiscal year 2026 proposed budget, and I am now closing the public hearing. Next, Manager Moore.
Next, we have a public hearing to receive comments on a resolution approving the project plan for the Friendship Village of Kalamazoo project. And we have a staff person that's available for questions, but no presentation.
So, Manager Moore, no presentation on this item then?
Just questions. Available for questions.
Available for questions. Nice to see you, yes. Welcome.
Hello, Commission. Bobby Boyd, Economic Development Supervisor here at the City of Kalamazoo. This is a bond and approval of a project plan for a redevelopment called Friendship Village Senior Housing Community out on Drake Road. We are working with them to provide a bond for this project, so this is more of a resolution to approve that project plan for the city to provide bonding for that project as well. So I know I brought it up in other commission meetings as well, so we also have a few representatives here. If there are additional questions, we have a Tim Kane, Executive Director for Friendship Village, and we also have the attorneys for the development as well. We have a Steve Frank, representative for Miller Camfield, so if we have any additional questions, or I'd love to bring them up as well if there's questions from the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Questions, commissioners?
Mayor.
Commissioner Grable.
More of a clarifying question. I think it's important just for public. So in terms of the fiscal impact, there's no fiscal impact to the city of Kalamazoo. The bonds were issued by the Economic Development Corporation, are not a debt or a financial obligation to the city. And I just was wondering if you could just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I know the city is not held liable for that debt at all. I mean, more specific, I mean, I'll let the attorney talk more into that aspect, but I know we are not held liable for those funds in that capacity. Steve, if you want to talk a little more about that, a little more clarification.
Good evening, Steve Frank with Miller Camfield. It's a very good question, and to confirm, neither the EDC nor the city are liable for the repayment of the bonds. They are payable solely from funds and other security provided by Friendship Village. And the documents that we're preparing and that will be approved by the EDC will make this perfectly clear. It's understood by the investors that purchase the bonds that they're purchasing solely on the credit of Friendship Village and can look to neither the EDC nor to the city of Kalamazoo.
And then just to clarify as well, so at their, if I'm understanding correctly, at the November 20th meeting, the EDC adopted a resolution recommending approval of this project plan. Is that correct?
That's correct. They approved the project plan and recommended approval to the City Commission following the public hearing on your agenda this evening.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both.
Other questions, commissioners, at this time? So just a reminder for anyone who might be watching, this is not the first we've heard of this, so this is coming back to us here. Any final comments? Mr. Boyd, are you?
No final comments. We will have one more meeting discussing this. I think the closing day will be sometime early January as well for this to be completed through the process. So looking forward to continue working with you all and supporting a project, a really needed project here in our lovely city of Kalamazoo.
Thank you, sir. Now is the opportunity for anybody here in the chambers who would like to comment on this item, the public hearing to receive comments on a resolution approving the project plans for the Friendship Village of Kalamazoo project. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment on that item? Seeing no comments, I will now close the public hearing. The recommended action is a motion to adopt the resolution. Commissioners, is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Duncan.
Support.
seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any discussion, Commissioners? All right, seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Slaby.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Duncan.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Now we're down to G, the consent agenda. Manager Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 12 items on our consent agenda this evening. First one, approval of a one-year contract extension with Mercer for healthcare management services in the amount of $100,622.76. Next, we have an approval of a contract extension with Trace Analytical Laboratories Incorporated for analytical services in the amount of $158,747.65. Next, we have an approval of a contract extension with Kent Communications for utility billing, printing, and mailing services in the amount of $200,000. Next, we have an approval of a contract supplemental change order with the Tetra Tech Incorporated for the Central Water Treatment Plant Upgrades Project Design in the amount of $476,400. Next, we have approval of a contract and a budget amendment with Gordon Water Systems for the purchase of 350 mechanical filtration units for potable water and 1,400 replacement cartridge filter packs in the amount of $588,959. Next, we have the adoption of a resolution recommending approval of a microbrewer license for Sit and Stay Winery and Brewery located at 260 and 262 East Michigan Avenue. Next, we have the adoption of a resolution approving 5 new neighborhood enterprise zones homestead applications in the Vine neighborhood. Next, we have adoption of a resolution approving a 50-year 4% pilot for Cal Recovery 1 Limited Dividend Housing Association for the creation of 48 housing units located on the portion of 333 East Alcott Street, bounded by Reed Street, Belford Street, Bryant Street, and the Portage Creek. Next, we have approval of the use of $68,161 from a sale of park property in 2006 for park improvements as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and approval of a budget amendment in that amount of $68,161. Next, we have approval of a time extension for the Local Initiatives Support Corporation's 2023 Rental Rehabilitation Program agreement funded by coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. Next, we have approval of a request from New Year's Eve Fest of Kalamazoo to publicly display fireworks from the Epic Center parking structure beginning at 12 a.m. on Thursday, January 1st, 2026, as part of the annual New Year's Fest event. And finally, we have the approval of the appointment of Kyle Ackerson to the Community Development Act Advisory Committee as an at-large member for a term expiring March 31st, 2027.
Thank you so much, Manager Moore. Commissioners, the requested action is a motion to approve items 1 through 8 and 10 through 13, and authorize the city manager to sign all related documents on behalf of the city. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by,
Commissioner Hoffman.
Commissioner Hoffman.
I will
Thank
second
you.
that. Second.
Seconded
Commissioner
by
Hess.
Commissioner Hess. Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Slaby.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Duncan.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The items on the consent agenda are approved. Now we're at H, the regular agenda. City Manager Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is approval of a contract extension with Salinas LLC for biosolids dewatering polymer in the amount of $1,345,101.78.
Is there a staff report on this item?
Director Baker is available for questions.
Commissioners, questions? Pretty perfunctory kind of activity, other than we're spending a lot of money on it. So I see no questions right now. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to comment on this item H1? Seeing no one, the recommended action, Commissioners, is a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Duncan, supported by Commissioner Hoffman. Discussion, Commissioners? Seeing none, Clerk Boylan, please call the roll.
Commissioner Slaby?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Commissioner Praedel?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H2. Manager Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, we have the adoption of a resolution detailing the rates charged for wastewater as authorized by Chapter 28 of the Kalamazoo Code. And we do have a staff presentation from Director Baker.
Welcome, Director Baker.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Manager, City Commissioners. Just a housekeeping item, I'm going to be presenting on this item H2 and then H3 as well. I'm going to give you one presentation on both of these items. On this subject, utility rate recommendations, we had a pretty in-depth discussion at the community whole meeting of the City Commission on December 1st. So I'm not going to go into that full detail. I'm just going to provide kind of a high level of some of the high points to hit on, and of course be able to engage in conversation discussion with you. First of all, I want to speak directly to what those impacts would look like for our customers. This slide represents about a $5 a month increase across both in-city customers and what would refer to out-city customers or township customers. Please keep in mind that this is just a small fraction of the customer base. We serve 11 communities in drinking water. We serve 22 communities in wastewater. We also serve many industries in wastewater. So for specific customer impacts, we'd have to go into those rate reports that are actually part of your agendas. I also want to talk about how do we compare across other communities. We're well below that average of about $75 a month. This information is presented in a monthly basis. You see kind of where Kalamazoo is towards the left side of that chart, and we're incrementally kind of moving towards the middle. One thing that we talked about at our previous meeting is that Kalamazoo has a calendar year, fiscal year. Many of these communities have a July fiscal year, and so we wouldn't be surprised that if in July some of these communities rearrange as the card or the deck shuffles a little bit back and forth. And specific to the programs that we have in place, we're unlike general fund in that there's no tax base for the water utilities. All of our dollars are brought in by revenue from the sale of water and wastewater. These rates help provide enhanced services, programs including lead pipe replacement, cast iron pipe replacement, treatment and reliability improvements in drinking water, infrastructure, odor, and resiliency improvements in wastewater. Those rate reports also look at year by year by year incremental increases. So we're paying about a 5 to 7% annual increase in drinking water and about a 9 to 7% annual increase in wastewater. All this work and all those programs I talked about are all part of a very large capital improvement program, which is about $1 billion over the next 6 years. We also want to highlight the dollars we're bringing in. We've been working very hard to bring in a lot of state and federal resources. Just over the last few years, we've brought in $43.5 million in infrastructure grants. And these are dollars that are not part of those rates. So these are dollars that are kind of free and clear that are applied direct to the community, direct to the programs. As far as community engagement, this has been a bit of a long process to get here in front of you tonight. The Utility Policy Committee is represented by 3 members appointed by the City Commission. 4 members are appointed by the Township Regional Commission, and that group works together to look at things such as the Water Capital Improvement Plan, water rate recommendations, and it through several meetings of the EPC, a final water rate recommendation was provided on the September meeting. That information was then taken and presented to other stakeholder groups. We've had a lot of work in wastewater, which also includes several industrial customers. Those rates and that work was presented to those stakeholder groups in October. We also have a biosolids project that's in the capital improvement plan that we're working towards. That conference or that slide deck from that conference is also included in your packet. And then again, we had a very in-depth meeting, which is available on Public Media Network, that really goes into all these discussions at the community whole meeting, our COW meeting on December 1st. I wanted to touch on our water affordability program. 582 families, Kalamazoo County families, were provided direct assistance for water bills in just over the last year. We also helped 66 families with interior plumbing, so those families had plumbing retrofits or plumbing upgrades to address leaks or things like interior lead piping. Altogether, between those 2 programs, over $400,000 of direct assistance to Kalamazoo County families were provided. That program funding is going to continue in 2026, and that program funding is going to continue in 2027 as well. So just a few highlights here. I know there's a lot of information in your packets. There's a lot of information to talk through, so I am available. If any commissioners have any questions, I'd be happy to go into them. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, Director Baker. Nice to have you here. Questions from Commission at this time? Once again, just a reminder, we have talked and talked and talked about this topic. We've had extensive, detailed presentations on it, and this is not by any means the first time anyone sitting up here has heard anything about this. So I appreciate all the attention to detail and all the involvement that occurs here on the Commission side. Question, Commissioner?
Sure.
Hess?
Yes, brief question, Director Baker. Thank you for this. And I realize the need and plan on voting for this. However, we did hear from Ms. McClinton again this evening that her rate seemingly went up double from what she had been paying. And so without this already in effect, there might be some issues. I would hope that staff would be reaching out to her and making sure that there's no leak in her home.
Sure, thank you for that. I did hear the comments. I think probably the best course of action is for us to reach out and just verify the count, verify the usage. Just as a reminder, there's no mid-year rate increase, so there's no change to anybody's rate. So if a bill does go up, the only possible way that could be was from usage. And so we do have a leak policy, so the Commission's well aware of what that leak policy is, and so we could work to resolve that. There may be some other nuances with an account, but without having the account in front of me, I can't comment on it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so if folks are seeing drastic increases in their bill outside of this particular increase, what can they do? How can they reach out and make sure there's no leak or something else going on with their bill?
Sure, that's a really great discussion. I think, first of all, the value of us putting the information up here is that so folks know what they can expect. So about $5 a month. The bills come quarterly, so that'd be about $15 a quarter. So after January, when you get your bill into next year, it would be normal or typical to see about $15 on that quarterly bill, and a quarter covers 3 months. If you're seeing more than that, if you're seeing a bill that doubles, there's either more usage or some sort of errant read or something going on with the account. And so that account needs attention. We would please recommend that you give us a call at 311 or 337-8000 if you live out in the townships, and just tell us, hey, there's something wrong with my bill. My bill doubled. Can we look into it? Do I have a leak? Is there something else going on? Am I on an estimate or something? So we've got policies in place. We talked about that some of those are city commission policies, your leak policy, and we can get some answers on that account. But we also have the assistance programs as well that we talked to.
Right, and those are on our website and well-known to the folks at 311, right?
That's correct. That's correct. And I'll go back to that slide too. So the utility payment assistance, that number directly available, that's 1-877-422-2726, and that's the Community Action Agency of South Central Michigan. Or you can give us a call if you have a concern about your account, your usage went up, if you want just a payment plan, or you want to check your read, just any kind of account information, account detail, that's either 311 if you live inside the city, or 269-337-8000 if you're outside the city limits. Thank you.
Just a reminder, there is a mailing that goes to every water customer. And even if you don't want to look around the website or you don't have a computer, what does the envelope say on the outside, the water bill that goes to every water customer, Director Baker?
So there's some print on the outside of the bill that talks about that payment assistance is available. And so we understand that you may be aware of a bill that you owe money to, and if that bill comes, you may want to just throw that in the trash. That's a normal human reaction. We all have that. So we want to make sure that folks are aware that if you do need help paying that bill, assistance is available. And so please give a call to that number. You heard from Community Action Agency at Community of the Whole presentation, but there's ways that we can categorically qualify customers. So if you're currently receiving the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, we can categorically qualify you. So that means you don't have to go through all the paperwork and all the in-docking to get to that program. You might have kind of a quick on-ramp in, and we can get you help that you need so that you don't experience a water shut-off. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, team? Thank you, sir. Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this item H2? If so, please come forward, state your name, and whether you live in the city. You'll have 3 minutes. Seeing no one, Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to adopt. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hoffman.
Second.
Supported by Commissioner Slaby. All right, we're rolling this way. Thank you. Discussion, Commissioners. Commissioner Pradel.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. I was going to just mention as well, I mean, you mentioned that we've talked about this quite a bit. We've heard a number of presentations, but I was just definitely, if somebody wants to deep dive a little bit more to learn and understand why these rate increases are possible, are necessary for us as a community, there's an entity, the utilities group that meets, had a presentation on October 31st. I believe you can watch the live stream on our website. And then we also had a community of the whole presentation on December 1st that you can watch the recording of that as well, but extremely informative. There's 3 things that I really appreciate about what Director Baker and his team and the city staff are trying to achieve with this work. The first one is I remember sitting in a presentation in December 2020 when we first got elected on commission, and it was, you know, the first significant time where there was a major rate increase, and natural reaction was saying we're worried about folks and ability to pay for this. And I remember, you know, within a year or 2, Director Baker's back with strategies and solutions to provide support to folks who are struggling to pay. And that was with partnerships with Consumers Energy, providing home audits. Then next came with the work with the Community Action Agency to provide utility support. And there are families that are legitimately getting hundreds of dollars of support. So if people are questioning and doubting, like it is, you mentioned here that there were 522 people who received direct assistance, 66 people who received interventions in their home with plumbing, and then $400,000 of intervention. Like, it's a real thing if you reach out to receive assistance. And then the third thing, the second thing I really appreciate as well is that they have been working really, really hard to try to find as many state and federal opportunities to support this work and these significant capital improvements so that ratepayers are not the ones having to pay for a large part of that. You mentioned it being over $43 million of support from outside the rate increases. And then the third one I just wanted to mention as well is just like innovative solutions. And what I mean by that is a couple examples is we heard a lot over the last year and a half about sludge removal strategies, and we're going to be seeing and hearing a lot more about this. But effectively, we as ratepayers are paying $13 to $15 million a year just to have sludge removed on giant trucks that are polluting our air through our city every single year. And so there is a really impressive dryer solution that's coming that we're looking that over a course of a period of time will actually make it so we're not having to see these rate increases because we're reducing the costs for ratepayers. And then another example is when we were seeing like record high inflationary pressures on materials on cast iron pipes, they went out and bulk bought cast iron piping and stocked it up in mass so that we had a stock of this so we weren't continually seeing these rate increases on people with those material costs. So I really appreciate the ways that you've tried to find to be good stewards as best as you can. That not to say recognizing that it is an extremely tough pill to swallow for folks that are already seeing rate increases from your cell phone bill to your grocery bills. And there's hardly a facet of life where people are not seeing significant pressures. And so what I would say is I'm deeply grateful and appreciative of the community for willing to stand up and stand tall to do this work because it's necessary. And the result of us not investing these dollars now for our future and for our children and grandchildren will be astronomically more expensive and provide astronomical hardships for people in the future in our community if we don't do this hard, heavy lifting work now.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Other discussion? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Duncan,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaby.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H3, Manager Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, we have adoption of an ordinance to amend certain sections of Chapter 38 of the Kalamazoo City Code to change the rates charged for drinking water, effective January 1st, 2026.
Thank you, Manager Moore. So as Director Baker stated, he really talked about both of these items. One is drinking water and one is wastewater. They're lumped together on the bill, but related to that, any particular questions on the water side for Director Baker from Commission? All right, thank you. And that said, is there anyone in the audience who'd like to come forward and comment on this item H3? If so, please come to the podium, give us your name, and whether you live in the city, you'll have 3 minutes. Seeing no one, the recommended action, Commissioners, is a motion to adopt. Is there a motion?
Move to adopt.
Motion made by Commissioner Hess,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Slaby. Further discussion, Commissioners? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Duncan,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel,
Yes.
Commissioner Slaby,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next is reports and legislation. Manager Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. We don't have a city manager's report. I would like to call Chief Boysen back to the podium to speak about this morning's unfortunate death.
Welcome back, Chief Boysen. Sorry you have to come back for this discussion.
No problem. Thanks, Mayor and Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. Yes, so normally we don't do press releases on suicides, but in this case, from what we heard from the community about some things that were being said, I thought it was best that we clear the record here. So again, this is a tragic situation and it's sad for the family, but in the community as a whole and the officers who had to respond and the people involved. But we responded about 8:21 this morning to the corner of Stockbridge and Mills on a report of a person that was deceased. The person was found hanging from a light fixture. I know they said they were hanging from a tree, but it was hanging from a light fixture used as shoelace. We do have that on video of the person going there and doing that, so there was no other people involved. The person sadly has a history of mental illness and some other issues, so again, it's an unfortunate situation. Similar to what also was brought up was the situation at MLK Park. That was another very unfortunate situation responded to. Again, there was a lot of underlying things involved in that one. Some untreated medical conditions that this individual had. First of all, the person, Mills and Stockbridge, was a 60-year-old male. The person in MLK Park is a 29-year-old male. Was found deceased. While he was found in the park, he was later pronounced dead several hours later at the hospital. But when we got there, he had his shirt and shoes off and was laying in the snow. He was still warm to the touch. Officers did CPR. They transported him to the hospital, and he died several hours later at the hospital, was pronounced dead. So we investigated that one as well. Again, another sad case of someone with severe medical issues and mental health issues. We've had many contacts with this individual in the past. He had been known to take off his clothes because of his medical condition. And so he was at the transportation center, went to MLK Park. Again, this was reviewed through videos, went to MLK Park, took off he had a sleeping bag and warm clothes, but he took off his shirt and his shoes and laid in the snow. And he was there for a little less than 2 hours before someone noticed him and called us, and then we went there and did CPR and attempted life-saving measures. So again, it was just a tragic situation, and that's why we don't normally do press releases on non-criminal deaths such as a suicide or this one, which is I think a medical and mental health issue. But again, both sad situations, but I just kind of want to clear the air on the facts surrounding both of those situations.
Thank you, Chief Boyce.
Good.
Manager Moore.
That's all for the city manager's report this evening.
All right, thank you so much. We are now down, let me see, to K policy item. We removed that item from the agenda this evening, so we're down to new business. First item under new business is discussion regarding the establishment of a special purpose committee to review, update, and recommend modifications to City Commission policies. Commissioner Slaby.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. So I wanted to have this discussion because looking at our City Commission rules, Section 12I and 14D, the City Commission has the special authority or power to establish a special purpose committee. And in my review as a new commissioner of all of our City Commission policies, and we have about 50 that are available online, there was just many that I think have an opportunity to be reviewed and updated, potentially eliminated because they were created so long ago that they aren't necessarily relevant based on departments going away or just changes to the city and how we do things. And so I thought that this could be a great time with the new city manager coming in, new city commission, to be able to take a look at these policies and be able to, again, review and provide recommendations on whether we modify or eliminate any of them. My thought was, because this is a special purpose committee, based on our rules, it must dissolve by the end of this commission, which would be at the next election cycle. So this could potentially be a functioning committee for the next 2 years. And, I envisioned maybe 3 city commissioners, City Attorney Liel, City Clerk Borling, and potentially a public member that may have served as a former city commissioner that could provide that additional historical context to some of these policies. So if there's anyone willing to join me in this endeavor, I wanted to bring this to our attention because I think that while this sounds tedious, and hey, we've had them, so, what does it matter? I think it is important, and I think it helps us model to the community that we are aware of all of the policies that we have in place and whether or not we're following them, we're in compliance, or if they need to be updated. And I think it's important for us to do that housekeeping as a commission to set the tone, and again, be ready for our new city manager.
Thank you for your thoughtful explanation, Commissioner Slaby. Any other thoughts, commissioners, about this proposed item? Commissioner Pradle.
Yeah, I'm down. I think it's a healthy exercise to do every so often, and probably long overdue.
Well, I'd be down too, but I don't know if we've been on the same amount of time. I would as well, but I know that you're on the other subcommittee as well, Commissioner Pradle. So, yeah, I'm happy to join in that review.
So for the other subcommittee, we didn't have to take any official special purpose action. I don't know if you're really looking for that. And Attorney Liel, are you have any input on this? How to formalize this?
I was trying to refresh my recollection on the provision that was cited by Commissioner Slaby. Could you give that one more time?
It's Policy 1, our city commission rules, and I think there's just provisions under 12I and 14D that lay out the timeline of a special purpose committee. That's as far as I got.
Keep on talking, please.
Okay, so that'll take a moment. So, yeah.
I don't know what people's thoughts are about inviting a public member that potentially was a former commissioner or maybe someone else to provide historical context. I don't have anyone particularly in mind, even though Don Cooney did say he was interested, he'd be willing. But, but I mean.
Do you know what it was?
Free Don.
He did. But there's plenty of people that we could potentially reach out. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts or thinks that it should just be current city commissioners. I just wanted to put it out there for other people's perspectives.
Have you found that particular rule, Attorney Liel?
Yes, I have. Yeah, since this is going to be a special purpose committee consisting of commissioners and staff, possibly, I know that maybe there might be one former commissioner. This is not the type, this is a different type of special purpose committee than when you actually engage citizens to actually serve on a committee for a special purpose, like an ad hoc committee. So with that said, I believe that you can simply establish this special purpose committee by motion, second, establishing the committee and the members on there, and then basically let them, and what their charge is, and that should be sufficient.
Thank you. That's helpful. Commissioners, Manager Moore?
As you're considering this, and in order for staff to help support this, come back with we're asking that you would help us to understand, what your scope is, the cadence, the frequency, so that we can look at the staff time that would be needed to support this, and what your deliverables will be. So we would ask, that would be very helpful for us to assist you in this work.
Good point, Manager Moore. Commissioner Slaby?
Yeah, what I envisioned is the city commission policies. That's the scope. So if you go online under city commission policies, there's about 50 of them.
Just a question about staff support, though. So are you hoping there'll be a staff person at every single one of these meetings?
I only envisioned our city clerk and our city attorney. I don't necessarily think that they have to be there at every meeting, potentially like just a check-in. So after the city commissioners kind of review and discuss if questions come up that we need clarification on, you know, we could potentially send an email or check in with them.
Okay. Any other thoughts about it? Members, prospective members of this committee? All right, so related to that then, if we're going to, that information will be helpful in terms of cadence, staff support, what that's going to look like. Maybe there will be this committee that we presumably will create this evening can get together and think about what that might look like and clarify, you know, the expectations from the committee itself, if that sounds okay. So that said, then can I have a motion regarding the establishment of a special purpose committee to review, update, and recommend modifications to city commission policies?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hoffman.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Slaby. Discussion, commissioners. Commissioner Hess.
So as I understand it, the Commissioner Slaby, Commissioner Pradel, and I will meet.
I'm sorry, yeah, I guess the names should have been in the motion.
We will meet and determine the extent to which these policies need to be looked at. And then we will engage Attorney Leal, Clerk Borling, and go from there. Is that what I understand?
That works for me.
Vice Mayor Duncan.
Once policies have been identified to be changed, does that go to a vote to the full commission?
Yes.
Yes, they're the commission policies. Attorney Leal.
If I might add, you know, I'm seeing the list here, and it is a project that is going to be, won't be, and I'm, as Commissioner Slaby stated, you know, it could be up to 2 years, depending. There are a lot of policies and a lot of information. I'm willing to assist and as in my role as city attorney on the legal issues, but there are information, as I'm looking at these policies, there's policies that are outside my purview that maybe certain staff members would have knowledge as to these, you know, I would only be able to read. So I envision this being not just solely for the subcommittee, but also at various points, staff members who have expertise in the policies, specific policies, park policies, that's all in there, fireworks policies, KDPS. That kind of level of granular information is held by certain departments, and so while Clerk Borling and I could assist as much as we can, we are going to be limited with the subject matter expertise.
All right. Any other discussion? Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, so to Commissioner Slaby's point on bringing a potential former commissioner or community member, for example, Don Cooney, would we still be able to engage with them similar to how we engage with the community for the city manager search if they aren't officially part of the subcommittee?
The only thing I can think of, if there's something, I'm just speculating that one of these may encroach on some information that would be considered confidential. We would not be able to disclose that to an outside person. I don't know if that exists, but I'm just trying to think of situations to answer your question that may apply.
Thanks. I just wanted to touch on the idea of potentially getting someone else involved that's not currently staffed.
You have something, Attorney Leal? No, you're all set. Okay. Any other discussion? Commissioner Slaby.
I don't know if I have a full response to that piece outside of, these are public policies that are online, and so to me, the extent is for us to read what's publicly available to everyone. I'm not saying that there may not be some foreseeable thing that comes up, but I would love to have a former commissioner by our side, because some of these are from 1976 and 1988.
Don Cooney doesn't go quite back that far.
I know we might need to find somebody else, but yeah. So I think that would bring some context that could be helpful.
Thank you. I think, are we ready for a roll call vote on this? Clerk Boiling.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Slaby.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Duncan.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Now we are down to the time on the agenda for Commissioner comments. Did I miss something?
It was that second new business item that we added.
Oh,
the
I'm sorry. I
homelessness.
sort of thought we already discussed that.
Point of order. I learned that at my training.
Okay, sorry.
There was a second new business item which might have been
know.
addressed prior in the meeting.
I'm sorry. I sort of thought we did talk about that and create a committee.
I thought we created a committee for the purposes of the budget. This is, to me, a separate issue around city's role.
Sorry
in
about that. I
homelessness.
thought we'd already addressed it. Commissioner, so now we have a motion, which I don't have it, was added. I don't know what the language is exactly, but I'll.
It was a discussion of homelessness response coordination, including the establishment of a committee to review and propose policy recommendations.
All right.
Happy to present on it, share more context.
Sure.
So, yeah, I wanted to recognize, before we dive in, that we did lose a life. People have mentioned this. This was Christopher Nuri Jr., 29, only a couple years younger than me. I think any loss of life is tragic, irregardless of the circumstances around it. And I know that homelessness is one of the top issues across all neighborhoods that families and individuals bring up as something that they want to see invested in, to be able to address seriously. I know that there's a tremendous amount of work from grassroots volunteer efforts to institutions putting in, funding towards different programming and services. I also believe within Kalamazoo County, the county specifically takes on the role of really addressing a lot of these concerns related to homelessness, but also just housing insecurity in general, and affordable housing. However, I do think that there's also a role that the city does play, could play. And with this recent incident, and also just because we are in the middle of winter with below freezing temperatures, with us allocating $300,000 towards the opening of a shelter to continue that work, to be able to house people temporarily. I thought that this would be timely. It's, again, with a new city manager and a new master plan, for the city commission to establish a task force or a subcommittee to be able to explore what is the city's role when it comes to coordinating outreach and transportation options. Those have been the two barriers that have come up time and time again with the ability to have people access the existing resources that we have. And I think that there's opportunities for the city to be able to identify ways that we could play a role in further supporting those efforts. And just as some examples as to why I think this is pertinent to us as a city commission, we have a wonderful city bulletin board in front of City Hall, right here, right outside. And I think it would be excellent if we could put a list of accurate resources around shelters and centers right there next to our city commission agenda. It's right next to Bronson Park, a congregation place for many folks who find themselves unhoused. MLK has been identified as a major gathering space for people that find themselves unhoused. To me, it would be a simple thing to do to add a bulletin board there as well with these same list of resources. Being able to promote 2-on-1, Griffin Place, who is able to list these resources, and also potentially understanding, and maybe this already exists, whether or not 301 has a script that continues to remain updated to share those resources if someone finds themselves calling that number. And so those are, for me, simple, quick wins that we could help support being able to do when it comes to the dissemination of information to effectively reach people that may not have access to phones or computers at that time. And the other piece is, and this is why I asked questions earlier during the public hearing around the budget with the Youth Mobility Fund, whether we could allocate those resources or not, options to be able to provide support for people being able to get to shelters and centers during the winter times, and seeing if there's a possibility to partner with Metro to support the distribution of quarterly passes between January and March, one of the some of the coldest months in Michigan. And maybe it's that, maybe it's working with a partner with their shuttle. I don't know, but I think those are things that we could look at and evaluate whether or not that's something that we could support this year and in the future. So I wanted to lift that up because I want people to know, even if maybe they have left already, is that we do hear you. We hear these comments. I see these social media posts. I talk to people. I mean, during the campaign, again, knocked thousands of doors. And this was, again, at the top of the list for many people. And so I just want to ensure that they understand that we are thinking about this, we are taking action, and I think that this, to me, when I think of what is a city commissioner's role in all of this, that putting together a committee to explore that would be the first step, rather than just, I guess, doing these one-off purchases or activities, something that we could create a plan or recommendation to be able to figure out what this looks like as a sustainable approach to how we communicate and support access to these shelters and centers in the area. Thank you.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate what you bringing up, Commissioner Slaby, and I would like to also offer that we have mechanisms and organizations in place that are designed to do just what you're saying, where we don't have to take on that big of a role and stretch ourselves thin, where we're not really governing and making sure that the city is running like it should and could and can. I would suggest that potentially looking at becoming a part of the continuum of care, which you have representation from community partners, the county, the city, other organizations and faith-based organizations. That may be a place where we could use that platform that already exists versus us creating an entirely new subcommittee. We just created, or we're thinking about creating two right here tonight. There's only so much capacity that we have as city commissioners and mayor and vice mayor. So I really want to lift up, let's really tap into some of the organizations that are out here and begin working closer with them and maybe holding them a little more accountable to what they should be doing, are doing. I just don't want us to recreate the wheel because we don't have to. We have some solid people out here doing the work. It doesn't always feel that way, but people really, really care. And I hear the comments, and I would urge community, you all have made us very resilient with your comments, and I appreciate that. Iron sharpens iron. However, this is not just a city of Kalamazoo issue. I would love to see folks go out to Portage. I would love to see people go to the county. I spoke with a county commissioner last weekend. Nobody ever comes and talk to us like, we feel bad for you. Don't feel bad for us because we're gonna put them on notice, so get ready. We need all hands on deck, and not just the city of Kalamazoo. We're gonna continue doing what we do, and others need to be held accountable as well. And so I'm hoping community hears that. We'll continue to do the work. We'll continue to take the jabs. You really make us stronger. And we do care. I know a lot of things are said about certain individuals up here, but nobody is sitting up here for a check. Nobody is sitting up here for clout. Maybe, maybe not. I might want to step back on that one, but I'm just saying, like, we have to get real with it, and we do this because we love this community, and we are 7 individuals who want to bring humanity back to the forefront, and we're going to do it, okay? So keep your comments coming because it makes us stronger, and also tap into the county and the other municipalities within our county that have a responsibility as well, and not just the city of Kalamazoo. Thank you.
Commissioner Slaby.
I really appreciate Commissioner Hoffman's comments. I just wanted to clarify my intent because I absolutely agree. We shouldn't reinvent the wheel or take over any coalition at all. My specific intent is to actually help us define what the city's role is, because I think that as people come to us with these concerns, we don't really have a response. We talk about the various things that we oversee, from streets to housing, et cetera, that all contribute to the support of a thriving community. But, you know, I think that being able to, whose role is it to put together a bulletin board at MLK Park, a city-owned park, to be able to put that poster up? Or whose role is it for the city to be able to promote those resources on our bulletin board that exists in front of City Hall? And to me, those are those specific things that, you know, those are ideas that I've just put out here on the table, but are there others that, to me, fall within the city's scope to be able to support? And you know, perhaps a transportation option ends up being not feasible, but certainly these bulletin boards are finding ways that we can promote these services, not just a one-time thing after an incident, but an ongoing concerted effort, is pretty inexpensive and an easy lift for us to do. And so I'd like us to just be able to kind of identify those items and then be able to do that really good and continue to encourage people to go to the county, because those meeting rooms are empty and they need to be full around this issue, because they are the main player in all of this. So I just want to clarify that intent. If we don't want to move forward with the committee, I totally understand. I just wanted to lift this up because I heard the community, and I wanted to make sure that they understood that we heard them and that we are bringing this to everyone's attention on the dais to discuss further.
Thank you, Commissioner Slaby. Commissioner Hess.
Sure. Yeah, we definitely hear you. We definitely hear you. I would remind everyone that, you know, Mayor talked about our tax bills last time, then when we got our tax bills, and that the county actually has a housing millage and a millage for the unhoused, and to create housing. So that's, and that is, what does that bring in, like $9 million a year to be able to help with this effort. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we have a housing line in our budget. You know, and the city, I think what you're suggesting, putting communications in city parks is a fine one. You know, and there's got to be a way to do that without probably doing a committee to do that. I would run it by staff and see if that's something that we can do to make sure that folks know that there's a place to go and where they can go and where they should go.
May I make a kindly suggestion here? We've created a couple subcommittees tonight. I would say one of those subcommittees, pretty big Venn diagram overlap with what you're talking about doing. Is it possible to say, well, we'll roll with what we got now? We're not going to forget about this idea. You know, we can bring up other things, or some of those things could be thrown to this committee, and rather than create a third committee tonight, just proposing that maybe we could go with what we got now. Are you okay with that, Commissioner Slaby?
I'm only one commissioner. The only thing I'll say is, again, the policy, the budget thing is going to be this one-time thing where we make some tweaks to the budget, right? And that may support some of these things that we're talking about with transportation options, like Commissioner Hess had brought up during that public hearing. I guess I'm just thinking like sustainably though, like what is our role with communications and outreach around these services and resources? And how are we continuing to improve upon? Yes, bulletin boards, that's the idea I brought forth, but is there other strategies that are effective that we have a role in assisting with? Again, I don't know, does 311 have a script? Would we want them to have a script because people might call them? Just these other things that may come up that we're not thinking about right now in this moment at 10 o'clock at night. And so if we don't need a committee for this, totally fine. And maybe we can leave these to small group meetings, sure.
Any other thoughts, commissioners? Okay, good discussion. All right, thank you so much. Now we are down to the place on the agenda for commissioner comments. Are there any commissioners that would like to make comments this evening? Commissioner Slaby.
Well, I just want to say thank you, City Manager Moore, because this is your last meeting with us. And so thank you for stepping in as a retired city staff. I didn't have the pleasure of serving with you when I worked at the city, but I'm glad that I had this time with you as our interim city manager. And so again, thank you for being here and supporting this work. Being able to onboard, 2 new commissioners and getting everything ready for our new city manager. So again, thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Slaby. Other comments, commissioners? Commissioner Hess.
Sure. First of all, kudos to Pam Rowland and the Kalamazoo Junior Girls who honored 10 individuals on Thursday night at Second Baptist Church. Coincidentally, who are going to have plaques at Martin Luther King Park. These are people that have been instrumental in the building and in the history of Kalamazoo, and very important in the life of Kalamazoo. So well done, Pam. It was a beautiful event, and really happy to have Pastor Felton back for a wonderful sermon to the community. The 40th annual New Year's Fest will be happening here in downtown Kalamazoo in our lovely Bronson Park and all the buildings surrounding the park. And we just approved the fireworks at midnight. So that is available at newyearsfest.com, information at newyearsfest.com. You can buy buttons in person, I believe, at Harding's and somewhere else, but I'm going to go to Harding's. So that's the eve of New Year's. And then happy Hanukkah to all who celebrate. And the holidays always bring a chance to rest, recharge, and renew our faith. And let's continue to do that here in this community as we work on things that affect us all and that affect all of our humanity. May you all have a beautiful holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hess. Other comments, commissioners? Vice Mayor Duncan?
Couple things. Thank you, Mayor. One, I want to extend my deepest love and appreciation for the activists and the community organizers that are in this community. You kept people warm, safe, and alive this weekend, and I want you to know that your vice mayor and your city loves and appreciates you. Two, being one of the people who got the opportunity to work with the community organizers this weekend, we did identify a gap as we get ready to go into our new year and talk about budgets in our warming shelters. There is none for Sundays, and some of the hours on the...
Ministry's open on Sundays, 365 days a year.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But there's gaps in some of the...
I just want to say we don't have one. I just
sorry.
Don't make people think it's closed on Sunday.
Sorry.
Okay.
So there's limited warming shelters for certain times and periods of the day. From what we experience and what I'm hearing, some of the coldest times is, some of the times that we don't have coverage. So I want to publicly let the public know that that is on our radar. We're talking about it. I'm speaking to my colleagues about it, and we're being urgent about that. I want to thank the churches that and faith institutions that have stepped up and are in conversation with community activists about using your facility. And then also, as of 2 days ago, I'll be joining the weekly meetings for the unhoused crisis weekly meeting. So that we have representation from the commission in those weekly meetings. We are working hard, public, to hear you, to be urgent about these things. Any loss of life is tragic, and I want us to be the city that we say we are on paper, and I think that my colleagues are working towards that. So give us some space and grace as we settle in as the new commission. But I have personally had the opportunity to work with many of my colleagues on this dais, and it is truly a heart of humanity that we share here. So thank you all for the work that you all have been doing through these holidays and through the weather, taking time away from your families, spending your money, your resources to do things for this community. As a person who has criticized the commission, being a commissioner now, I see exactly how much work goes into being in this role, and I want to make sure that you guys hear the appreciation as loudly as you get the critique and ridicule. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Duncan. Other comments, commissioners? Commissioner Pradel?
This will be a quick housekeeping item for us as commissioners, but just a reminder, our COO Lamb reminded us that our appointee evaluations go out on January 2nd, and then we have till the 16th to get those back. So it would be wonderful if we could all get those in on time. Not coming out till the 2nd, so we're good. We do that usually at the beginning of each January, but thank you for keeping us on track, COO Lamb. I just wanted to recognize some of my colleagues did about just hearing from folks from the community tonight. I just want to know that, for me personally, and I know it's got to be the case for everybody up here, we hear you. In my day job, I work with community every hour of the day, and oftentimes, my office is right up in front, and I can hear every single thing person's coming in and all the challenges people are having in their real everyday lives. Just nonstop rotation of folks coming in talking about the hardships they're having, and probably the two things that the people who had in common, the gentleman who passed in MLK Park, a gentleman who took his life this morning on Stockbridge and Mills, is that people are hurting out there, and there's a lot of heaviness in the world, and it's really unfortunate those individuals, that's what ended up happening. But I think if there's something that we can take away from that is that just reach out to somebody you care about, and just let them know you're thinking about them, right? Just somebody that pops into your head next time, reach out to them, just let them know that you're thinking about them and that you care. That goes such a long way, and if every one of us just did that once a day, that makes a world of difference. And the other part of it is, I think to the folks who came up here, because they came up because they care, and expressed a lot of emotion, and those individuals are out working out in the community. And the reality is if people think that this city commission or any one of us up here is going to be the people that just solves it all and makes all these changes happen, I mean, I'm going to bet on Commissioner Slaby if there was one of us 7. But all jokes aside, I think the reality is these changes and transformation happens when community cares and community shows up. So keep showing up and show up in the way that you care, and that's how the change is going to happen when everybody does that. What I love about this community is that whenever there's a challenge, everybody rallies and will find a way, and I believe that that we're going to need to do that. The other thing I want to make sure to share as well is that what I heard during the discussion tonight about gosh, how could we use the city commission fund and whatnot, right? And I guarantee you, if we sat here for 20 minutes, the 7 of us would come up with a hell of a lot of ideas of people who could use that money. And I will tell you, like, there is so much need for the folks out there that are doing this work. And I would challenge folks when we have this visceral desire to like buy things and, you know, get people extravagant gifts or things that just go on a shelf or just like worldly possessions, that consider supporting some of the great causes that you heard people talk about tonight during the holidays, and support and give the gift of giving to other things this holiday season, because you know, whether it's the YWCA seeing significant federal cuts, or, you know, if it's the Cat Cafe, whoever it is, you know, people are seeing record demand for the services they provide, but also seeing a lot of cuts and financial challenges to make that work possible. So that's a great way to do that. And then lastly, I just want to make sure to thank the folks who work for the city. There's going to be a ton of folks who are going to be out and about this holiday season, serving the community, whether there's a water main that breaks, or folks that are keeping our streets clear, or men and women who are out responding to a car accident that happens at an intersection, and really want to make sure that they know we appreciate them and all the work that they're doing to keep our community moving, even during the holiday season. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate it. It's just an honor to serve with everybody here on the commission, and it's meaningful to sit up here and have a variety of ideas and work together to accomplish those things. So I'm actually, there never seems to be a good time for this, and I'm not necessarily going to say now is a good time for it, but unfortunately, it's when I have chosen, and so I'm going to drag this on for a bit, and hopefully it won't be too much suffering for all of you here. And here's why I want to start this off, is that we talked about all the things we're not doing, big list of those things tonight, and I just want to highlight a couple things that happened to be our consent agenda tonight. No one talked about it. No one here talked about it. It's on consent agenda, right? So we just passed it. So here's two items. We adopted a resolution approving a 50-year 4% pilot for Kalamazoo recovery. 48 units specifically for people in recovery in Kalamazoo. That didn't happen in Kalamazoo Township. Didn't happen in Portage. In the city of Kalamazoo, it's just perfunctory. We put it on the consent agenda. We don't even brag about it. 50-year pilot. And so what does that mean? We are basically saying, build it. We're not going to ask for property taxes from you for the next 50 years. Are we still going to provide public safety that's supported by property taxes? Darn tootin' we are. Are we still going to provide fire? Are we still going to plow the streets? We're going to do all those things. But we're not asking you to chip in. So maybe that is not an initial big contribution, but that is a long time big contribution. Just passed, no one said anything about it. Here's another thing that was on our consent agenda tonight. Approval of a time extension for a local initiative support corporation rental rehabilitation program. I think that was $1.25 million, if I remember right. We're giving them a little more time. What is that program? That program is specifically to give landlords up to $25,000 per unit to rehab and upgrade their units, with the commitment that then going forward they will accept and focus on moving people with Section 8 vouchers into those units. Affordable units. So something we did, nobody talked about it. As I understand it, LISC is making good progress on this and just needs a little extension to finish it. Another huge contribution to creating affordable housing. And then something that's interesting for me, and I am just not a person that talks about myself much or what I'm doing, and it's a fascinating thing for me as things change and generations change, and so I want to talk about that a little bit, is that back in the 90s, 1990s, not 1890s, I began to be very concerned about issues of homelessness in Kalamazoo County. And it was beginning to be a growing problem. And one of the reasons is that a presidential administration made a decision some years earlier than that, to reduce the creation of more deeply affordable housing, which is really not workforce housing. We throw around that term affordable to whom. It really is subsidized housing, because ultimately, that is the only truly affordable housing that exists, is subsidized housing. In other words, housing where a tenant pays 30% of their income, whatever it is, for rent. And so those programs were ending, and as a result, there were other programs coming along, but insufficient. So I was part of a county committee, way before I was on the commission, which was called the Homeless Advisory Council, that we formed to determine what in the heck we're going to do. And I happened to be serving with a variety of people. One of them was the esteemed Rick Stravers in Kalamazoo County. And Rick Stravers and I got sick of sitting in meetings and talking about what we could do, and we made a decision together that he was going to focus on the private side for creating housing, and I was going to focus on the public side to create housing. And we left that meeting behind, and Rick Stravers created a huge community resource, which you are well aware of, Commissioner Hoffman. He's a wonderful individual, basically took open doors from a couple shelters into an entity that has 125 units now, close, of deeply affordable housing. Rick Stravers, wonderful person, have great team members that he worked with, very successful undertaking. At that time, what I did was I determined that a good access for resources for deeply affordable housing in Kalamazoo County would be a public housing commission. And we didn't have a public housing commission. Public housing, everyone's heard that term. There's public housing in Battle Creek. There's public housing in South Bend. There's public housing in Grand Rapids. There was no public housing. At that time, a public housing commission was a faucet for resources from HUD to come to the community. So I determined we need a county-wide public housing commission, not a city one. This is an entire county-wide problem. And starting in 2000, I began to advocate, talking about advocates here, Vice Mayor Duncan, I began to advocate with the county commission, which was Republican majority at that time, to create a public housing commission. Here's how I roll. Everyone can choose how they want to roll. Here's how I roll. So my tactic was not to go yell at the county commission. My tactic was to make a strong case for the value of a public housing commission, which included meeting with people individually, putting a real case together, and at the end of the day, it took 2 years, and the Republican majority county commission created a public housing commission, which has resulted in vast resources coming to Kalamazoo County. Millions and millions of dollars of HUD grants, and the Public Housing Commission was the entity that basically I came up with an idea to have a millage in Kalamazoo County on the Public Housing Commission. We proposed that millage to the County Commission. That's the only way it could go onto the ballot, and it took a while, and the County Commission eventually put that millage on the ballot. Everyone said it wouldn't pass. It passed. That was the initial county millage, which set the stage, in my estimation, because it was reasonably successful and it was supported in the county, for the second millage, which is much bigger, and Commissioner Hoffman was part of the team that helped set the stage for that second millage to pass. Now it's managed, because it's so much money now, they didn't want to let the Public Housing Commission manage the resources anymore. It's now managed by the County Commission. So I want to go through a few more things here, but I'm just going to say that in my life, what I have focused on is affordable housing. In my professional life and in my volunteer life. And as I look back over what I've been part of and I'm still doing over this course of time, I'm an ally with the idea of creating affordable housing. I'm an ally of not having unhoused people in Kalamazoo County. But as I began to look back through this, literally I have been directly involved directly, I mean writing grants, and I'm talking about my volunteer life, not my professional work life. I'm talking about as a volunteer on the Public Housing Commission, on nonprofits. I have acquired property, gone to zoning meetings, applied for grants, served on boards. Literally, as I count back, and I was thinking about this talk, I've been personally directly involved with creating or preserving 465 units of subsidized housing in Kalamazoo County. I care about that a lot. That's why I work on that. I won't go through all the things that have happened there, but I want to talk about a recent project. Volunteer again. So some years ago, as this crisis has been getting worse and housing costs have gone up, I came up with an idea. And that idea was, where is the soft place in the housing market? It costs you at least $250,000 a unit to build new housing right now. And I determined, here's where that soft place is: motels. So I came up with an idea to buy a motel and turn it into, I mean, it was just like you're talking about. You see a need, you go out there one day, Vice Mayor, and you decide there's a transportation gap. That's exactly what I did. There's a housing gap, what are we going to do about it? It's just me. I came up with an idea to buy a motel. I talked a nonprofit board that I was on into that idea, and we actually put some money down to acquire a motel. And here's what that took: cold calling all these motels that weren't necessarily for sale. Couldn't get calls back, sat in parking lots waiting to catch the owners as they came in, got an agreement on a motel, went to MISTA, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, said, hey, I got an awesome idea here. We can get really, we can 1/3 of the price per unit, time frame months rather than years. We can create housing for people who are unhoused very quickly. MISTA laughed me out of the place. They thought it was a ridiculous idea, weren't interested at all. So I came back to Kalamazoo. That deal had fallen apart. Found another motel. Basically, made an agreement on that motel, and then spent a vast amount of time locally, not getting any MISTA money. City did chip in on it, thank you, but primarily raising money from philanthropy here in Kalamazoo to acquire a motel, to totally gut and rehab the motel, to create 60 units of completely affordable housing for, I mean, efficiency units that were motel rooms. Really proud of that. That is, what's the screening to get into that property? Have to be homeless. That's what it is. I want to talk about my professional life a little bit. And here's the thing that I already know, because I can hear the feedback from the chambers here. For whatever reason, which is mystifying to me, not wanting to create allies, but in essence to attempt to create enemies or villains, you know, here's my professional life. I've had the honor of working at our public mental health, which used to be called Kalamazoo Community Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, now ISK, for 30 plus years now. And when I first started there, my job was to really create housing for people who were coming out of institutions when the institutions were closing. And I began to see the huge shortfall that was happening there. Now we have a situation where our public mental health entity for Kalamazoo County is really the only public health entity of all 83 counties in Michigan that has a robust housing department right inside of that. Started with me, one person. Now there's about 28 people that work on the team. And what do we do out of that team? We have 80 shelter beds that we operate, all grant funded. A family shelter, a veteran-specific shelter, the only veteran-specific shelter in Kalamazoo County, a low-barrier shelter specifically to get to people who are not capable of managing whatever rules might come along with being in a standard shelter, and a shelter for singles. In addition, a few years ago, we added a portion to that shelter that is for individuals who are unhoused, who have pets. And we will help pay for spaying, for, for a license, for getting the vaccinations for the pets. Only shelter in Kalamazoo County that has a portion that is open to people with pets. We have an outreach team. It was mentioned this evening, great team of magnificent, committed people that work the streets, don't go into the shelters, do that outreach work every single day. And they have success getting people housed. We have a rapid rehousing team. I will say that there is no work related to housing people who are identified families under the McKinney-Vento Act in Kalamazoo County as what my team members do working with Robin Gray Martin and that team. Numbers are astounding for rapid rehousing work. In addition, we have applied for and received over the years a whole variety of HUD grants under McKinney-Vento. With those grants, we house people who are formerly homeless in privately owned apartments by subsidizing their rent and providing support services. 150 units right there. So, Vice Mayor Duncan, I had asked you a little while ago, did you want to get together and talk about housing? I know we haven't had a chance to do it. So maybe this will save us that, but I'm more than happy to talk to you about the details of how things actually get done. Right now, I've got other projects teed up that I spend volunteer time on, and I'm continuing to work on those efforts. Here's the two more things I wanted to say, and then I'll let everybody go. Since November 13th, I've been spending a vast amount of time trying to respond to a HUD notice of funding opportunity, a HUD NOFO that just came out, which in essence was, for the most part, going to strip communities around the country, and ours included, with permanent supportive housing dollars. That's what all 6 of our HUD grants are, PSH dollars, and our entire department is supported by grants, not by ISK Medicaid funding. 100% grant supported our department. I've been spending the last month trying to figure out what in the heck we are going to do as these permanent supportive housing vouchers presumably come to an end, which is what HUD is proposing, and people who were homeless will become homeless again. These are people who we successfully moved from streets and shelters into their own housing and supported them. And as a matter of fact, we have, of these 6 grants, they end at different times during the year. One of our grants, which was supporting 47 households, the rent payments ended in that grant this month in December. The abject cruelty of this reorientation of this HUD money is profoundly disturbing. But at the end of the day, my initial time and commitment is, what are we going to do for our households who live in these apartments? And luckily, after a lot of discussion, 2 things happened. There are 170,000 people in this situation in this country that are supported through this particular HUD McKinney-Vento Act. HUD rescinded their NOFO with this new trajectory on December 1st, a week ago on a Monday. Another one will come out. We don't know when. There's no announcement about that, so that means we're in limbo, still have grants that are expiring. Luckily, bless you, county, went and spoke with the county Housing Department, and the county came up with sufficient resources to keep this rent being paid for 3 more months, for January, February, and March. I mean, that's, a crisis. And it has been very stressful for my team that just puts their head down and does this work on top of everything else. That gives us 3 more months. We have other proposals on the table. We've got other things to talk about. But I guess when it comes a little bit to the last thing said, because this is another long topic, is where are we going? What's the city's role in this? I'll have to admit that ever since my idea about the Public Housing Commission being a county-level housing commission, and people that come and talk to us and want the city to solve this problem, I will suggest that just because every single shelter in Kalamazoo County happens to be in the city of Kalamazoo, that this is certainly nothing less than a county problem, obviously a state problem and a national problem, but nothing less than a county problem. So I've been spending a lot of time and energy over the course of the last year or less talking to County Housing Department about how is the county going to more so step up into this space, create a plan that will be data-driven, that will be carefully laid out, that will address housing concerns across a broad range, from individuals who are unhoused to individuals that are struggling to keep their housing, you name it. And the county's coming through. And I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at this, but the county now has presented a reasonably detailed housing plan, which went to the county board. Look that up and look at it if you're interested. And there's also a plan for really a transformational amount of funding to support this plan. And that plan is going to be, the work's going to be done in partnership with the continuum of care and with other entities in Kalamazoo County. But in terms of what you were talking about, Commissioner Slaby, I'd say over the next couple months here, we are going to see a countywide vision, which we're part of, and keep it in mind, we're part of the county. It's not like we're a separate thing from the county. The city of Kalamazoo is in Kalamazoo County, and so the resources that we provide here, whether it's contributing to the millage, we're all in this together. So looking forward, I'm expecting that there are going to be some really, really positive news out of the county, and that's not separate from us. That's part of us. We're partnering with that. And are there more things that we can do here, and how do we talk about that? Yes, that's conversations we can have. And are there emerging issues that are very, very important and timely right now? There are. And I support your efforts on that, and I support, anyone who's spending time doing that work. And so, that all said, I'm going to keep doing what I have been doing, which is attempting to create long-standing permanent housing options for people. I'm going to keep doing it in my volunteer life. I'm going to keep doing that in professional life. And like I mentioned when I got started here about the things we funded here on the consent agenda tonight, I'm going to keep supporting that work here at the City of Kalamazoo. I love you, Kalamazoo. We're adjourned.